Well, we are live here with Group C, the all-Terran group, at least so we think, so we hope, if Scoler does indeed show up, because currently he is AFK. But we'll give him a couple minutes here, just like we gave Alexander before subbing in Veek. And hey, Mesk also had to pop off, so we're subbing him in for the caster's desk too. This man is a man of many talents.
Yeah. So he's the reserve player, and now I'm the reserve caster.
That's just how it works out. So I'm setting up our overlay here while we wait. Forgot to reset it earlier. And we have here in our group, we have Neblime, we have Scoler, and we have Benno. Hopefully I'm not having to change that middle name there. That would be awkward, wouldn't it? But that just means that we'll probably have our two players who are here and accounted for, which is Neblime and Benno, take each other on for the first game. And TVT is liable to last a little bit longer than some of the other matchups, so maybe we'll even have we'll have a setup here. Let's see.
Although you never know, because Harakans are meta and Ankorchises are meta, so you know sometimes it's a bit faster, a bit cheesier.
Dude, you didn't see Group B, but goddamn, was it just an explosion of cheese?
It was?
Oh yeah, big time. Ridiculous. Absolutely.
I really like the
insane.
comment that DF left with like, oh, this is a very well fermented cheese and it's delicious.
Yes, he was happy to see some of that, and he contributed to some of that in his own group. So, yeah, I guess we can go over some of those results.
I watched the one with DF and Keen, the first one.
Yeah,
that was pretty cool to see Keen actually win, and I was very like curious, or rather surprised by his like composition and how well it actually worked. Like the Muta spam. Complemented with like Hydras and I think Vitrolefs.
There was some Vitrilisks in there. There was some
Vitrolisk.
It was just Hydra, Muta, Skith, Vitrolisk. That was pretty much it. I think he might have had a couple of zero.
Although I felt like he was like basically when that fight happened, I felt like he was like AFK for a second because his APM like dropped drastically, he was just like funneling units, and yet he still won because he just like out macroed DF so hard.
Yep.
And from what DF was reporting, he got pretty decision fatigued by all the tech tree changes that he's not familiar with.
Yeah, he had not successfully practiced at any point because he was gonna practice some yesterday, but Biddy B ended up taking too long to get into action, and that would have given him some Protoss versus Protoss practice, which would not have helped him at all in that group, but maybe he would have been able to know his own race a bit more. So.
Yeah. Well, you know, I only learned tier 1 before this, and then I learned tier 2 while playing. So.
Yeah, exactly.
It's pretty good. And yet I was able to take one dub against Mystery, which is pretty amazing, honestly.
Yeah.
I was really surprised, and yeah, I was literally shaking.
Literally shaking. As you do sometimes. Well, right here you can see our schedule. We do have another group after this between Shambler, Biddy B, and Luciferius. And we'll give...
Sounds like a fun group, and we have all 3 races here.
Yes, that'll be pretty
exciting.
Good. Otherwise, we of course have the 3 Terran group, so we'll see how that one shapes up. We'll get started in that just momentarily. And let me just go ahead and swap out our group image from B to C for you guys.
You know, technically TVT can like last up to an hour. Like imagine if every match is an 1 hour one.
Yeah, we'll see you guys. You'll be closing it out at 6 a.m. for just this one group, obviously.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see what happens there. But yeah, we're about to get into our first match between Neblime and Benno. So I'll go ahead and host it up on Repulsion, a map that you made, Veek. See?
Hi.
Man of many talents indeed. I was just testing Oxytocin in a match between myself and Enoz, and it didn't last too long, so we didn't get too much information on it, but it was nice to see the visuals at least. I appreciate the fact that I'm able to make maps that look like that. Maybe we'll see that.
Yeah, it looks really. It has a lot of visual interest, and that's pretty cool. I found that with Pendulum when I updated it to have some more custom tiles that it actually looks way more pleasing, even though I didn't really expect it. Just breaking the monotony helps a lot.
Absolutely.
And it was a very nice surprise, I guess, because I didn't expect it to have such an impact.
Well, it's funny too because just the way that things work out overall allows you to set the map aside, like apart from anything else, because odds are if you're manually placing tiles, you're doing so in a way that other people didn't manually place tiles, right?
Yeah. You're definitely setting yourself apart from like Brood War maps, which are like they cannot use custom tiles, and that's a pretty good thing for, especially on Ascension meshes where you're showing off the project to many new people, right?
Yeah. Well, we'll just about get ready here. If you want to pop in on release, yeah, you can spectate.
We were playing on release, huh? I was playing on pre-release.
Oh, that explains why you weren't able to join us.
No, I was.
Oh. No, it doesn't say so.
No, when I was playing before, I was on pre-release.
Oh, yeah, we have the same plugin, so... Like, I didn't recompile for release specifically, so you got cranked there, but it's alright.
That is good, because that was potentially a DC.
Yes.
Okay, I need to update release, I guess.
Well, I guess technically you can join on pre-release. Apparently it doesn't matter. Because they're the same thing. Yeah.
Just imagine release actually desyncing this time.
Well, Git is a useful service, just like you found out earlier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess we can talk a little bit about the fact that you were improving middle mouse button stuff so that we can have better spectating and probably better panning in general. But here's Veek. Here he is. Do a ready check.
So, I am ready.
There it is.
Yeah, so the panning, I was able to improve a lot compared to what it was earlier today. And it's basically like buttery smooth now.
It is.
Although there are some issues that Pronaga found that I wasn't able to replicate yet on my end. So we'll see where that goes. And that will be pretty epic, I think.
For now, we do have this Terran versus Terran on a very Terran-looking map. It is going to be Neblime, the yellow Terran in the bottom left, against Benno.
And it's going to be Benno, the Maya Blue in top right.
Absolutely. Now, this is exciting stuff because they're both not harvesting gas, so they're both probably going a stockade first, which means we will probably see Ahmed.
Yeah. Will we actually see an Ahmed clone?
Just having me autistically click every single Huracan for the rest of the time.
Yep.
Although there was a game, an AI game that I played with Roller Skates and 3Crow yesterday, where 3Crow built like, I want to say he built at least 256 I0 cores, but I could not click them all. So I did not see if we got Chad Ricor. Yeah, it's Chad Ricor. 1 in 256 chance. There's a bunch of them. Nobody has discovered the other ones yet. They just know Aziracore and Huracan. I don't think anybody else knows what we know.
That is actually a pretty cool Easter egg, I think.
Yeah. Oh,
imagine there's like one day there's like an unofficial Wikipedia for Cosmonarchy Brood War, and they have the Easter egg names, but actually some are missing. That would be pretty cool.
Well, the thing that I get to see... Oh, here we go. Calder just showed up with 4 homies. Can you believe it? Thank you, dude. We're just starting off our 3rd group out of 4. This is our largest tournament yet. And Neblime will be scouting Benno a little bit sooner. Back at home, we have the Stockade out. Maverick. Starpad follow-up here for Mr. Neblime. Benno's not as interested, it seems.
Well, I myself definitely learned the hard way that you gotta scout early, especially against people like Keen.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, cliff advantage giving those Mavericks the last shot there. That's going to put an end to Neblime's scout.
It's additional 2 range that you gain from shooting from a cliff advantage.
Yep.
It's pretty damn amazing.
And the Starpad's nearly complete here for Neblime, so we'll see what he wants to do. Actually, we have this... No, that's a Fulcrum coming out for Benno. He might show off the new Goliath model for us. Always a fan of that.
That'd be pretty cool.
And the Stockade lifts
Something
off to
that
give
I
him
believe Solstice made?
Yes, that's correct. Although DF said he'll be working on his own version that is going to be a little bit more on the faithful side. So that just means that we'll probably have like a faction offshoot version or something. But, maybe it'll be called Terran David. Can't believe I even made that joke. A couple of rates going to come out from Neblime. There is actually a watchdog already being put up here. So heads up play from Benno. He did scout the star pad. And it looks like he might be going Goliath Cleric, which is a fairly powerful sustain composition that you can do now that clerics, formerly medics, can heal anything. Mechanical has no distinction anymore, so we do indeed see
one
that.
thing that I don't think you panned over was actually a Mason repairing a Maverick, formerly Marine, which is something that a Brood War fan would actually not expect, I think.
Absolutely,
It's
yeah.
something completely new.
Looks like Neblime's going to go for an expansion with his Wraith scouting things out. He does see the Watchdog. He sees indeed the first Goliath has popped out here. And how soon does Benno want to make a move? It looks like he might actually just try to go ahead and scope this out. The Wraith is actually going to catch this. And look at that. It's even going to get caught. So instantaneously popped there. That's one of the two Wraiths that Neblime has available. He's going to recall the other one.
Pretty unfortunate miscontrol from Neblime.
Well, he is starting an anchor in a good spot, so maybe he'll still be able to hold this relatively easily. It really also depends on how fast Benno sends his reinforcement units out, because he's not rallying them in a particular direction.
Yeah, the nice thing about Goliath is that it's a really good all-rounder with high range, but it also excels against air, which is actually what Neblime did go for. So that is the perfect unit, you could say, especially when combined with clerics.
Absolutely. Now, right now, there's only one cleric with this army, so you could focus it down. A single Cyprian in the anchor, but you can walk past that. We'll see if that's what Benno chooses to do as he maxes out, groups up. Now, this Wraith could heckle this Cleric up here. It looks like maybe Neblime is trying to do that. He finally does manage to get it out. Now, does this Goliath turn around and respond? We're not sure yet. The Mavericks are getting a little bit confused over there, but they don't die, which is crucial because obviously the Clerics can heal. And yeah, this Goliath was never turned around to fight the Wraith. It's now going to happen, but that's a big pickoff, getting one of the two Clerics out there.
Yep.
And the longer the game goes on, I think the more it favors Neblime with his expansion already done. Transferring some workers out. Now massing in the middle of the map is Benno. And he's going to go ahead and take an expansion of his own, but it can be heckled from, Wraiths. There's another Goliath that will conclude soon. Okay, Neblime is going to come back in. Actually, it's the Watchdog going down first, which I like, but obviously it's pretty far away from any support, so that Mason will undoubtedly die. And Benno is withdrawing all of his forces all the way back to the base.
Well. Yeah, it looks like he will soon have the money to actually expand, although there's no second Mason, so he will have to use the one that just finished the Watchdog.
Yeah, and that's fine. He's just now got the money, so it looks like he'll be settling in. But he is going to be behind, right? He's down 10 workers due to the economics. He doesn't have as, Neblime doesn't have as strong an army. It's a lot of stationary stuff. He can try to move the anchors up if he wants to attack that way. But it looks like he's just going to try to take it nice and slow. And using his Wraiths to continuously scout around. I saw a question in the chat about the armor values. Yeah, we don't have upgrades, so the number you see here is damage, and the number you see on the armor tooltip is armor, like the amount of armor. So
Yep.
Gives you a more instantaneous understanding of, what to expect out of these units. A Trojan has been
One thing
completed.
that it doesn't show is the armor pen, but yeah, that you can get by just hovering, and also like cooldown.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. You can get all sorts of detailed statistics, and if you hold shift, you even get a weapon range preview. Isn't that dandy?
Yeah.
And it looks like a weird shape because it is internally as well. Very weird. Yeah, this is sort of what I would expect out of Neblime. He's not as confident in his Terran as he is in his Zerg, which he made it all the way to the grand finals of the previous Ascension tournament with. Must be said. So he's about halfway done with his Atlas, and he's starting to add some Fulcrums to the mix. So he's mostly just going to try to win with superior tech. The Goliaths will help Benno compete for a short time, and maybe he can get some eco damage with the Trojan, since he has started to foment that. But until he really does anything, you have to give the credit over to Neblime for having the superior macro so far.
Yeah, the Benno's expansion just finished, and Neblime Expo was running even before Benno's Expo started. So
Yes.
He has quite a bit of an edge, economically speaking.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
And neblime also finished tier 2 just now.
Well, we'll see what he opts for. I think he's probably going to go for the classic move of going into Madrigal drops. He does like those quite a bit. There's finally a Wraith for Benno here to move around.
Sense since he already has a start button.
Right. No Trojan just yet, but it can easily be added in. And it's going to be Scrapyards here. Again, committing to a little bit more of a high-power Tier 1 army is Benno. He does have some Matadors out, which he could drop. We haven't seen that unit too often.
Meanwhile, neblime is adding starports.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? And it looks like maybe a Sentinel was intended over there, but he ran out of money.
And we do not have a Madrigal, it's a Phalanx.
Oh, okay. We'll get to see the new Phalanx model in action as well. He's confirming that his opponent doesn't really have a whole lot here. Benno does have some gas in the bank, but it's 600 of each resource to tech up, so...
7 of his workers were idling.
Oh, well, that's a good number.
Yeah.
You're very familiar
exactly
with that
what I have in the nickname.
Yeah, there's also 7 Goliaths out on the field, so...
Oh.
Some fun facts for you.
Yeah, isn't the simulation always fun? Unfortunately, no third cleric because it died to the Wraith.
All right, the anchors are taking flight to move a little bit closer to that third base that I think it's pretty clear neblime wants to take here. And that would be one angle for Benno to try to come back into the game is without teching up, just getting those extra bases. Maybe seeing if he can get something and pressure his opponent to attack him. But
I think this ministry can be attacked using Goliaths and Cleave Advantage, so...
It's just barely on the outskirts of that, probably. But yeah, you might be right. It depends on if Benno wants to even give it a shot, because I don't think he's aware of that. He is moving out. His Trojans are empty right now. The Wraith, I don't think, spotted any of that.
Matadors.
Yes. I don't know that they're going to be as effective. Yeah. Maybe if he drops them while they're deployed, he can maybe, you know, do some damage to the Phalanx and the Sentinel or something, but I don't know about that one.
Maybe he actually does a drop here. Yeah, the Trojans
I think he's going to go for that. Yeah, he's going to go for the elevator play here. There's a decent amount of anti-drop stuff.
Defense, right?
Yeah. There's even an anchor on the way over. I don't know if he caught wind of it somehow.
And we have Wyverns. Oh.
Yes, these are going to be really good versus ground. They don't have an air weapon, and they are fairly slow, but there's not really any air that does any damage here for Benno. So I feel like he's been a little hoodwinked here. The Phalanx is being deployed as well. The Wyverns are starting to take some damage. Again, Goliaths can help Benno compete, but he is decidedly behind the 8-ball here. He will be able to tech up now, and if he can keep his opponent on, you know, if he can keep neblime on the bottom side of the map, so to speak, that might give him a little bit of an edge. Starting to see a Vestry being added on back at home for neblime, just pumping out starports, getting air superiority, and lifting the anchors to try to make a more decided push into this third base with the Ministry complete. So again, having more tempo on the macro, and Benno not yet responding to the anchors. This is the big engagement right here, but I think the Goliaths are just finding it a little bit too hard to compete with 8 Wyverns. That's a lot of them. They do eventually bring one of them down. The Clerics can't really sustain through that, though. And that will be pretty much kaput for the mech army. It looks like the drop might have been attempted, but I see some wreckage over here north of Neblime's mineral line.
Yep.
And the Wraiths are even chasing him down a little bit here, too. So things have gone from bad to worse.
Yep, I think neblime has a very solid position now. He has a third. Unlike Benno, his third is just finishing, and neblime's is actually defended, which is a big difference, I think. And yeah, if only he transferred his workers, he's definitely on the advantage, especially with his big army.
Right, there's some blackjacks coming out and some more on the way here. The Atlas about halfway done. Feels like Benno is at a market disadvantage here. And he doesn't have nearly as many Goliaths as he needs to compete with the 7 Wyverns. Like, admittedly, some of them are bruised and such, but you can see how quickly they just melt through some of those weaker units. And they can fire while on the move as well, which can make it, you know, they can feel pretty imposing, right? This is probably the first time Benno's actively fought against it, it feels like. And the Valkyries are even here for the sake of defending them against any counter air, which we don't know. Neblime doesn't know this, but...
This one play that would actually be great with Wyverns. It's something I discovered a while ago. If you actually load Deployed Shaman into a Trojan, it can heal your air units. which sometimes is very, very handy. And actually with Wyverns, I think it's even better because you can move and heal and attack at the same time, right?
Well, the deployment or the heal passive while that's happening was removed a while back because it was morphing the engagements much too much. Basically, you would...
Yeah, I imagine.
Yeah.
That is a good idea since like Trojan like air units do stack, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool to know that was patched, I guess.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because I did like the idea. I liked the idea behind auras still working within transports, and I think it works when your anchor is landed. But if you have an air transport, you can just stack them infinitely, right? Because of air units not having collision. So yeah, we're seeing the sort of death rattle here for Benno. He doesn't know it yet, maybe, but he's definitely about.
His fear was denied.
He's on the precipice of being eliminated in this match. I mean, he doesn't. He has a lot of money, but he wasn't really spending. He wasn't spending any of that money out of his fulcrums. This whole time, he could have been dropping a lot of sentinels,
actually,
maybe.
I don't think Benno has made even one tier 2 unit yet.
No, he's got tier 2,
so
but
his Atlas was
he's not using it yet.
Not very useful. Had he only had few phalanxes on the cliff, maybe combined with Goliaths against Wyverns, maybe he would held it off, but...
Oh yeah, with phalanxes on the cliff, getting cliff advantage, that definitely would have helped him out quite a bit. And he could have used Goliaths at the same time to try to deal with the Wyverns. If he achieved...
What Benno did is he placed some start pads, and he's trying to get a massive Wraiths, but I'm not sure that's the correct answer against Valkyries and Watchdogs, so...
Yeah, I don't know if he knows about the Watchdogs. I mean, you'd think they would probably be within range,
not.
But... You know, at the same time, this force in the bottom right that was denying a potential 4th base is going to get cleaned up. Benno is setting up a base in the top left and has a bunch of static defense over there, but he's now not mining from 2 of his bases.
And he did deny the 4th from neblime.
Oh, look at that with a single Wraith. I don't even know if neblime's going to cancel this in time. Okay, he does just now barely take a notice of it. So there's a stack of 10 Wraiths. The Valkyries aren't actually in the right spot to catch that, so one of the phalanxes does go down. When they're in siege mode, they lose their 4 armor. That's a pretty important detail there. More Wraiths being added by the minute here, but Valkyries are excellent against swarms of units like that. So what are you going to do? He tries to split them out. Does end up picking a couple off, but, you know, if these ever turn and fight... Honestly, though, I mean, yeah, you can see as soon as the salvos come in, yeah, okay, you may have successfully picked off some of them, but there's definitely a lot more Watchdogs here.
Maybe if he, like, disengaged and tried to, like, repair them and maybe train a few more... Maybe he would have a chance, but at the same time, I imagine neblime would just roll over his base with phalanxes before he would even, like, actually kill them.
Right.
Yeah, GG's.
GG's. We have our first game on the board. And it does not look like Scoler is here.
Mystery, I don't think the Matadors did him very well. I think it's mostly because I'm pretty sure he dropped most of them and lost them because there was already an army waiting for that drop. So
we'll see what happens here. Maybe 3 Crow is interested in the opportunity of a lifetime because unfortunately Scoler is not here. DF wants to... He qualified to playoffs, so I don't know if we should allow him to be playing. For again, whereas 3 Crow hasn't, so he has the opportunity, I think.
Yeah. I think so.
All right, looks like 3 Crow is interested. So let me just go ahead and correct my overlay here.
Maybe we'll have another race other than Terran.
Yes, I'm pretty sure. Well, he's going to remain random, I believe. So. Yeah, we had a couple of people not able to make it either due to... well, Alexander couldn't make it due to health issues. And Scoler, I guess he just XD'd himself into the wrong day or something. He got goofballed. So it looks like 3 Crow is going to pick the next map as a result. Let me go ahead and get him the map list. This is definitely not according to plan, but that's okay. These there's some Discord shenanigans happening. 3Crow realized he's up against Neblime. He sees the map list. He's thinking his choice over. He's typing. He says,
Neblime says, "Don't do it. Don't do it."
3Crow selects Boskevine, and he typed it in capitals with one space between each letter.
I gotta make it free.
Of course. Oh my god. There's a...
Why is Boskevine so infamous?
Well, Neblime really hates Boskevine because... Yeah, Scoler is not here. I don't know where he's at. Neblime does not like Boskevine because he can't easily macro up onto like easy 3 bases and stuff, right? So
That's interesting.
3Crow might have the opportunity to slap him around, but we'll see.
It's funny because Boskevine was one of the first maps that was actually trying to be safe.
Yes, well, that shows you how far we've come since then.
Yep.
Captain Benno's big mistake was going Matadors. I definitely feel like... Oh yeah, you were talking about that earlier in the chat. Yeah, okay, well, let's just set the stage here. 3Crow is random. If he gets Zerg, he is probably 6-pulling Neblime. Just saying. Just saying. We'll see what Neblime...
Very likely.
Yeah. Well... I mean, think about it, right? He went
I
random.
played against him twice, and he 6-pulled me twice.
Yes.
I mean, technically, he did 7-pull the first game, I think.
Yes, yeah, he did. Because he wasn't expecting to do that, right? Oh, he's Zerg. Well, he's building the worker, though. He's not interested in 6-pulling this time.
He's actually the color of Necron himself.
He is. He's Cyan Zerg in the bottom left. And who is that in the top right, Veek?
It is Neblime in brown.
Brown
and he's Terran.
Okay. He's getting some gas, so 3Crow is not interested in 6-pulling this time around. He might be playing a more standard game. He was playing just a moment ago.
Will be Zorkis or Hydrodin?
I think it's going to be Hydrith because, oh, you know what? He's thrown a 3rd worker onto gas.
3rd worker, yeah.
I mean, that delays your mineral account.
His build order. He wasn't probably sure what he wants to go for immediately. So
yeah, when you play as random, you have to think to yourself, what is going to be my sort of first order here? Like, if I'm Terran, do I know what I want to do?
Just Q at Roloff, actually. He skips it.
Okay, it's going to be Hydrith. He could have waited a little bit longer for his Zorkis, so he specifically wanted to go Hydrith here.
And he pulls 1 drone off of gas.
Okay.
He's still idling a larva.
Just more workers so far. Yeah, and the Mason does scout, so he sees the Hydrith.
I was very curious if he's doing like some strategical cutting of workers, but I guess that's just miss macro. But that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, at this level of play, we're not exactly perfect gamers around here. Meat says you can't go Zorkis against Terran. I'm interested to see if that's true. I mean, I feel like if you're random, you can. Because they have to scout you early. They don't know what race you are. And Neblime did scout a little bit on the later side. Like, 3Crow scouted mega late. But Neblime took a little bit of time there. He's going to try to execute this Droleth, but obviously it's going to be able to get into the base. See the fact that there's no gas being mined. And that should tell him that he's up against a player who might be going for a fast expansion. We have a couple of Skiths. No Watchdog started just yet. And a Droleth chasing away the Mason Scout, so I don't know what's up with that. He's definitely not interested in letting him see the
it's like
Skiths.
Neblime is looking to expand
yes.
on 1 Rocks and only 2 Mavericks with... Oh, actually he put the 3rd one in Q, so... That might actually be pretty risky, because there are 2 Skiffs out already. So with good micro, he could actually kill the Night X.
We have a PP. Classic 3Crow getting work calls on a Saturday.
Oh, no.
Now, the problem is he showed his Skiths before this pause. If he pauses before that, you could maybe set Neblime off, right? But, like, when we look over here, all the way over here. There's 2 Mavericks. They're headed southbound, it looks like. There is a Watchdog already being built in the main. But I still think that the natural is, potentially going to get bopped because Mavericks don't do super well versus Skithrakors. They have the 1 armor. Mavericks will deal 5 instead of 6 damage because they don't have any armor pen. And obviously you have regeneration if you're out of combat. You can dive in and out. They move faster. I mean, if the Mavericks are stimmed, that's one thing, but then they're missing health. So
I feel like 2 skiffs with like good enough micro would beat like 3 Mavericks easily. And, but the thing is, like, if neblime just like, because he definitely missed few microcycles on the stockade, and I think he could have had at least 5 Mavericks, if not more.
Oh yeah,
and that would be way better.
Yeah, you were actually practicing, I think it was on Nightfall or maybe Pendulum, you were practicing some matches where you were playing as Terran and trying to do like a safe early expansion off of a stockade, right?
Yeah. So you can go 1 Rags expand, although it really, like, it depends what you scout, I think.
Yeah.
It can be safe, but it really depends what tech they went to. And Maverick is not great against everything. Like, if they went Lucky Zalisk, you probably need to do something. And, like, obviously you can go Anchors, and Anchor can fit 4 Mavericks, which is pretty huge. With 2 Anchors, you can defend pretty well, I think.
Yeah.
Although, obviously, flying units can attack your Nut and your main. So, it really depends, but I'd say 2 Rags expand can be pretty safe, and 1 Rags expand is situationally safe.
Yes, I would say so. I mean, the fact that he scouts a Hydrith probably meant, like, if he scouted a Quasith, I don't think he expands off of the 1 stockade. But the fact that he scouts Hydrith, he knows, okay, the first military units are going to hit a little bit slower. And he bought a lot of time with the Skithrakors chasing down that Mason, which may have also been because 3 Crow got work called or something. So maybe he just, because like if I'm 3 Crow in that situation, I just waypoint the skiths away. I ignore the scout worker, right? Because you need to, you want to have as much time to harass your opponent.
Utilize your tempo, right?
Yes, yeah. So that definitely slows
especially since Hydrolife then? What is
Hydrith, just Hydrith.
Hydrith.
Yeah.
This building is a pretty big tempo commitment since it costs 75 gas, which you have to harvest, which cannot be used in economy, and is also less larva efficient than Quasrog. So you do have to go tempo. You do have to. You want to get an edge from this building, because your expo will be delayed because of it. So ideally, you want to delay enemies' expo too. And maybe get like military/economical advantage even. So.
Yeah, if you can pick off like 2 Masons, force them to build Watchdogs, and then go from there into building an expansion themselves. Oh boy, he's having to call plumbers and stuff. This is why you say no to salaried positions, I think. They just bop you. Oh, by the way, here's a confusing thing about Brood War. When it's paused, you can't click the minimap, but you can pan the screen. You can't use camera hotkeys to recall positions. Like, you can't select different units.
You can't use middle mouse button. What the fuck?
Oh yeah, it disappears the cursor, but you can't actually move it.
I think, yeah, so with my new change, that should work, actually.
Oh, interesting.
Because I'm skipping, like, if check that was there.
Well, an hour late, or no, a half an hour and 35 minutes late, Mr. Scoler has XD'd. So he is here, technically. I guess if 3 Crows to tap out because of his call, we could just act like this never happened. But I'm pretty sure at this point, 3 Crow would rather commit to it. We'll give him the option, I guess. But this is at least a funny move to add some diversity into this group.
What do you think? Would it be very hard to adapt this mod for players? Like, hypothetically, I don't know if it makes sense to do it on spot, but
no, we're not going to do it on the spot. But what I would say is, if we were going to do an Ascension group, I mean, the problem with it being more than 3 players is that it's hard to imagine a King of the Hill thing, since you have you have more than 1 player sitting out between matches. So.
Yeah, you almost would want to paralyze the matches, but then you would actually need to casting teams. So
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, or you could cast them all from replays. I guess that would be one way to do it. Ah, he was napping, dude. He's sleeping on his XD right there. That's why.
yeah, that sucks definitely.
To give up the spot, then we just remake, but up to him since it's 35 minutes later. Calder asks about my username. I actually explained this on a recent podcast. I can't remember which number it was. But my username was initially something that was made because I was really bad at Starcraft. And now I'm not as bad. But when I was very young, I was like 8 or 9 or something, I thought, you know, if you're a pro, then I won't go. I'm not going to start the game. So then I was like, oh, pro, no go, obviously, right? But it didn't have the 0 in it. And I added the 0 at some point because like the account was the default account was taken, which I think was actually by me, but I forgot that I had taken the original. Anyway, there was like some website that I ended up being used for, or maybe it was like Xbox Live or something. And I was like, well, I have to change it. Unfortunately, I found out much later that people will use PR0N instead of just typing porn. So now my username is forever associated with porn, which is quite contrary to my character. So it's pretty funny because, you know, it's like the antithesis of, of me in some way. I mean, not that I'm like massively against it, it's just that I think it's silly that people get so addicted to it these days. But anyway, many people think that that's what it's a reference to, and it's not. But that's okay, because then you get to surprise them with different information.
Yep.
Exactly, Ben. Yeah, if he's just going to have this phone call the entire time, then he could just get owned. Dude, as I always like to say, crows before hoes. Am I right, guys?
Yeah, true. But what do you think? Or rather, do you remember the lifetime Ascension stats of Kian? Kind of curious. I know Mystery has won a lot of finals.
Mystery Meat has won 3 out of 4 finals so far. Shambler has won the obviously the second tournament and placed grand finals twice, or no, 3 times out of 4. And Neblime has placed grand finals once. But 3Crow has made semifinals twice so far. That's his cool. His most of his accomplishments. And both times he got beaten out by Mystery Meat following that. So, all right, we are back into the game. I'm not sure that this is going to count too much considering what we just said, but we'll let 3Crow decide after the game since he's being distracted and he can't really focus too much. There are indeed 4 Mavericks now with the Watchdog complete in the main.
And there's actually a Cyprian Code.
Yeah, those shots do penetrate, but obviously penetration only deals 50% damage.
Yeah, let's see what 3Crow does. If he decides to focus the Watchdog, that might be pretty bad. Yeah,
because the repairs are going to come in. And one last shot even kills that skiff. So. I mean, that might be... He's been slow to pull them both times. He loses both of them. He does have one more back at home.
That is pretty unfortunate because he could have dealt a lot of damage to the Expo.
He didn't even know. He doesn't know that's even up.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the thing that you get when you're distracted. That you will not always make the most just the perfect. You can make a perfect decision when you're distracted because you didn't gather the information. You didn't remember to gather it. You didn't remember what happened really because you're multitasking, right?
Well, speaking of multitasking, he's going to have to deal with the push here. The Mason leading the charge to maybe drop an anchor somewhere.
Or no defensive structures, and there are only 3 skiff records. I think that this actually might be the game.
Well, it depends on if he lets the anchor go up, but he hasn't really moved his units around, and he is letting the rest of the bio get into their positions. He's adding more and more units.
Skips and eggs, so
Yeah.
fine.
He needs to try to focus down that Cyprian, ideally. One of the skits already going down. But yeah, the bio is just going to get melted before the anchor even completes, so that's going to definitely help out a lot.
Yeah, one big thing about the skiff is that it has 1 armor, which is actually pretty effective against the Maverick.
Yep. Yeah, it drops their damage by a 1/6. But the anchor is completed. 2 Mavericks are going to hop into there in a moment. It's just going to creep on forward here. I feel like if 3 Crow was a little bit more dialed in, right, if he was able to be, because he wasn't getting dialed on, he would probably be able to just pretty easily jump in here. Now, Mist likes himself a anchor cheese as Terran. What he likes to do most of the time is keep his Mason inside the anchor, unload it when the anchor becomes attacked, and then go from there. But yeah, I think 3 Crow is just sort of awkwardly dealing with that.
Mystery?
Yeah. No, I was talking about Mystery Meat. That was just like an example of what you can do with the Mason. But yeah, I have a feeling this game is going to be over pretty soon. So, let's see what happens here. The one of the Zero cores is... Okay, they finally bounce onto the Watchdog. And indeed, the Mason is dead.
Well, neblime is only harvesting with 4 workers in his expo, and 4 other workers are idle, so he's not actually in that big of an advantage. He also has 2 idle Masons in his main. No 1.
Yeah, it's just that once he corrects for that, he's going to be much further ahead since those workers do exist.
It looks like, so... Kian only has 12 Trollefs mining in his main, and Neblime has 20. So there is a...
Yes, even that alone is a big difference. Forget about the natural, which is up and running.
And he did correct for the idle workers. So. And he's adding a lot of production, a lot of stockades, and that's gonna be a big deal, I think.
Well, you know what this means, by the way. I think this means that if Scoler does take the spot, if 3 Crow's like, all right, screw this, I keep getting work called. I'm going to leave my opportunity at the doorstep, so to speak. That's whatever. But if that happens and Scoler does take it, as we originally had planned, what we could see is Neblime being forced to play Boskevine more than once.
Oh, no.
Because obviously this match will be voided, right? So
yep.
we do have some Izira cores out, and that will be enough to keep him somewhat competitive versus this bio ball, but more and more Ahmeds are being added, right? Harakans plus some clerics. This bio force is going to be adequate to deal with the Zerg. The Zerg is definitely very far behind here. And we do have a Benno lag. Benno having some German infrastructure issues. Oh, Benno. Oh, he's out. Okay, bye.
Yep.
Choosing to drop out and check out the stream, I think, rather than slow the game down.
5 Azure cores, which
yeah.
I don't think it was gonna be enough against Harakans and...
Yeah, the thing is, like, they have 2 armor, but the Harakans will...
mull it away.
They're definitely going to reduce the armor there. You can see the difference.
Actually, like 30% of the PS increase for all the Maverick.
Yes, it's pretty significant, so... The Harakans definitely doing their darndest to reduce the efficacy of those Izira cores. We still don't have cliff advantage in this spot here, but it was enough to give Neblime the opportunity.
Honestly, making Harakans reduce armor is like a genius choice because it complements both Maverick and Cyprian, which makes the it just makes bio click even more.
Absolutely, yeah, they synergize very well with each other. It's not really any Cyprians in this army, though, and that's fine, because you can just use the Mavericks. There's not really any overwhelming amounts of armor or crowd control. What 3 Crow would need in this situation is a Lakizalisk or something, but he's a ways off from being able to do that. He's going to fall back to his Circuith now. He does have a whole bunch of Skithra cores. Obviously, Ahmed cannot shoot up. Oh, and look at this Burrow Drillith. Oh, okay. Well, here comes the charge. Ahmed trying to move a little bit closer. A lot of them are already softened up, and a couple of them are in the back lines as well. The Skithra cores pounce. The Harakans are not as useful as maybe they could be otherwise. But most of the units are now falling. And look at all the clerics healing that one last Harakan.
honestly, even if Kian has defended it, it would be a lot of pressure on him to remake this army instead of expanding his economy. So
Yeah.
I do think even if this attack didn't go so well, it would be a good game for Kian. He unfortunately wasn't able to secure his natural in time and wasn't able to expand his circle of mob control.
Yeah, he really had a very small amount. The Azir cores are going to finish, but it's just not going to be enough. They're going to be brought down as well.
I think it was a mistake on Kian's part to try to try to push with Azir cores. I mean, sure, it's good to get some vision and try to gain some information, but I don't think that was the right moment. I think he should have instead focused to actually secure the NAT and maybe build sockets.
Yes, yeah.
GG. He calls it.
He does call it, but he's chilling. There you go. Now he's out. Okay, so with that, we will take a moment to assess whether or not 3Crow is going to go for it. Scoler has returned if you want to concede due to work stuff. Up to you. At least I think he has. He is online right now.
Yeah, he is even typing.
Oh my god. I had to bump up your volume a little bit there, because it was hard to hear you over Ahmed torching everything.
I see.
Because I think that last game was probably a problem for 3Crow. Must have been annoying. Yeah. Oh, I have the opportunity now. I can give it a go, and then work.
Yep.
As it is. he's actually asking. This is where it's awkward, right? Because like as the tournament sort of admin / referee, it can be difficult.
What language is that?
That is Spanish. He's a Peruvian.
You know some Spanish?
I do not know that. Google Translate knows that.
See. What did you ask him?
I asked him if he wants to play now, so.
XD.
Alright. Well, let's hope that this actually makes sense. No, I guess level's the wrong one. We'll see what he says. I asked him what
question marks.
Yes, I asked him what battleground he would like to play at. If I use map, it might not like translate correctly, right?
Right.
Yeah, so we're using lateral thinking here.
Batala Jugadas.
Yeah, Batala Jugadas. Is there supposed to be a stream delay? I don't think so. It should be the normal stuff that we need. Oh, he fixed Boskevine! Beautiful. I love it. Let me correct the overlay real quick. All right. So, you know, at least there's some practice.
XD indeed.
Absolutely XD'd. If we get that, we can have Veek watch my Discord stream. Okay, let's go. Boskevine coming up. And yeah, Scoler does indeed have some network issues sometimes, so we will see how that one fares. But it is Neblime now in the bottom left of Boskevine. And we have him as the midnight green color. And he is Terran. And you know who else is Terran, Veek?
Wait, you were introducing who?
I introduced Neblime.
Yeah, so we have Scoler 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which I actually think should be 1, 2, 3, 4. It doesn't matter. He is Mahogany Terran.
Absolutely.
In top right.
You know, there are few things as beautiful as a man who knows how to type XD.
Ministry. Yep.
And that stockade is coming. It's going to be stockades out the wazoo. We're back to the promised land of Terran versus Terran all day, all night.
Yep.
This isn't.
Imagine endless streams of Mavericks executing themselves.
One another,
against
dude.
each other.
Brother fights against brother.
Yep.
Scoler is a fan of, I don't know if it's like a regional thing or what, but he does like to say, so-and-so is king. He likes to say that. He likes to call, he says, have fun, my king. That's what he said at the beginning of this one. So. Then earlier yesterday, we were playing those AI games, and he said, Pronogo is king, and I said, fuck yeah. And I think he thought I said, fuck you, because he's like, what? And I had to explain to him, I was like, yeah, si, me gusta. And I said, me gusta XD, something like that. So he got that. But the Scoler Maverick is going to try to get some first blood here. The Mason will scout out. And crucially, when you're going up against Terran and you see the stockade opener, that's whatever. But you want to see the gas. And I don't know, he probably also saw the Fulcrum there as well. So there's going to be a star pad instead for Neblime, which is pretty good as a way to have
player
defenses.
myself, I don't really like to build buildings and have like essentially zero uptime on them, and that is something that I see a lot of people do, where they will build something and then train like one unit and then build another building because they're bored of the first one. Which is actually something that I just saw both of the players do.
Yes, yeah. Well, they want to fit that in, right? Now, okay, I will say, I can give some background on Scoler. Obviously, we haven't seen too much of Neblime's Terran in a long time. He participated in, his first time in Ascension tournaments was with that. We do have a couple of
and I think he went a Maverick mass, right? That was his
strategy. That was Benno. That was Benno.
Oh, that was Benno. Yes. I remember the DF match with like Amphibians. Was that it?
The one that I'm thinking of is when on Mame Street, Neblime and Benno went up against each other, and it was just non-stop Maverick. But that was before the selection extender, so Benno was not able to live up to
the map that I'm thinking of is the map that you made where Shambler was abusing Lakizalis crops.
Yes, there was a match between Benno and Neblime that opened up one of our group stage matches. Oh no, it was Neblime and Mystery Meat actually, and it was TVT. We had diadems, we had all sorts of stuff.
Oh yeah, that one was.
Yeah, you're thinking of Crossguard, which is like a jungle map. Yeah, the first Goliath is already out here for Scoler, so his Ahmed did die, but you know this Wraith isn't going to get too much done as long as. Oh, never mind, the Goliaths are actually moving away. And I don't. Yeah, Neblime's just going to scout for a bit, but it was spotted.
It's interesting to see Cyclops in production.
Yes.
I don't think I have seen a Cyclops mass very recently, so that's gonna be interesting if that indeed happens.
Well, the Cyclopses are very good versus Bio, right? And actually, this Wraith once again getting picked on.
You see a Vestry, but the first unit he makes after doing the Vestry is a Maverick, which is something I didn't expect, really.
Mm-hmm.
And we do have Neblime defending this cliff with cliff advantage, and
there's no cliff advantage.
Yeah,
actually. We haven't added that yet for this particular.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
So this makes the hold a little bit harder. But at the same time, there's really only a couple of mech units here, so he can't exactly decidedly push. Another Cyclops coming down, a Cleric behind that. And yes, back over here we do have the Stockade pumping out some Clerics, Wraith being repaired in the main, and a Fulcrum being added on for Neblime. So, with the anchor being completed, once the Cyprians are up in that, I don't know that you can really see too much of a siege here. And the expansion's coming a little bit on the later side. The tools to harass are there for Neblime because he has the star pad. And there is indeed a watchdog here for Scholar's main, but it's placed like on the other side of the ministry than you would normally see.
Yeah, so you can actually run around and just be very annoying.
Yeah.
Even if you had like one wave, that would probably be worth it, since you're actually probably forcing watchdogs, or you're costing him APM or something. So
This Mason was like moving around looking for a way to repair the Wraith that was flying around. So it just ends up inadvertently scouting that attack, which is a little unfortunate for Scoler, but the anchor is only now landing, so a couple of Cyclops shots should be good to get some damage over here. Cleric can heal them up. Another Cleric walks over here and gets almost executed. There's the Wraith to finish the job. Just units scattered around here, and really no anti-air defenses to speak of overall. More Fulcrums being added. So this is something that I've seen Scoler struggle with before. He doesn't realize it, but the Goliath range is answered by the Cyprians in the anchor. So this is a little bit awkward for him because his units were not on hold position. With his Goliath taking aggro, he can attack it with the Cyclops, and obviously the Cyclops can absolutely deal with the Masons and such, but...
yeah, so what Scoler did is actually pretty okay-ish, since it actually costed Neblime more, because his heal is obviously free, and you know, Neblime spent some, but he did lose some units, so that was not perfect, but it still was something. And he does transfer his some of his workers to his knot, which is way lighter than Neblime, but they should equalize their economy soon. The question is, will Neblime now take a third? That is something I'm curious. Technically, there is not much pressure from Scoler. He doesn't yet know that, though.
Yeah, the Wraith is only now going to scout. The Natural has some units to defend, but Scoler doesn't usually build a lot of static defense, which I think is actually really great because it's min-maxing your spending on army. And as long as you keep a couple units, a couple Wraiths aren't going to do too much damage, right? He's even keeping tabs on where that Wraith actually is, which is pretty good. Like, he's aware of the shimmer, right? He's following it, he's paying attention, but he no longer has any forces containing. And now there's a Shaman up for Neblime as well, which means that like small harassment attempts like that are probably not going to do too much damage.
Dude, isn't it epic that we actually have camera positions in the minimap?
I know, you can actually see what's going on. No detection for either player just yet. Starpad finally coming out here for Scoler. I was telling him when I was facing off against him, there were games where I won purely because I was able to distract him long enough to get tier 3, and I always had a tech advantage above him as a result. Now we do see a little bit of harassment, but the Cyclopses are going to be more than enough to dissuade this Wraith from attacking any further. Instantaneous reaction from Neblime to pull away. So he was able to get away with... even still, he took a couple of hits on that, so that can't be done for much longer. And there is indeed a Watchdog being added to compensate there. And the army move-out is going to be massing up. I don't think that he can realistically do too much here, but he can give it a shot. You know, the Cyprian anchor is a little bit far away. Shaman does get deployed. And it can even get attacked from
Scoler
afar.
actually recycled his structure, which is interesting.
Yeah, I think maybe he only wanted a couple of things. The lobotomy mine does get planted, but it doesn't look like it's going to get activated. A couple of vultures going down. That Shaman is going to still be worth a lot of value here, as some of the Goliaths are being picked off. 600 minerals there on the ground for Scoler, as well as the other assorted units that got picked. But he's keeping his Goliaths alive so far. Somebody told this man about Goliath Cleric, and it wasn't me, because when I was playing against him, he already knew about it. So he's already been steeled in the way of the various meta.
Yeah, you know, you get defeated once by a strategy, and then you get to reuse it. That's what I did, and then we're down.
Absolutely. Deployed Shamans are detectors, and I think Scoler just found that out. They call it visionary mode for a reason.
Yep.
Interestingly enough, the lobotomy mines are being repaired by the clerics and the shamans there. And one of them does go off, and this obviously is pretty bad for his movement. He's going to try to commit to it, it looks like, and only now falling away. He's definitely falling victim to that, and, you know, Vulture's paying for themselves in that front before they even get in action, right? Atlas already halfway done for Scoler, but it's a little bit further ahead by neblime. And there's a Trojan up, so it's going to be a Vulture drop.
Oh, he accidentally destroyed one of his Cyclops.
Interesting choice.
Yep.
I would say he needed to free up supply, but that doesn't exist. So.
Yeah. And no one misses it.
What I'm interested in is, what are we going to see?
Scoler is nearly tier 2.
Yeah, they both are. Yeah, Atlas is complete already, and we already see captaincies being added. The Madcap did recently get a hefty buff.
Yep.
The drop is over here, and there's not really any defenses, but there are some Goliaths from the natural, and the Atlas is done, so it's not really like he can, lose too much here. It does take 4 Vultures to pick off a Mason in this particular context. Some good mine coverage being put down. One of them does end up getting popped before it can really do too much, and the Palladiums are even going to help block off the Vultures from entering in any other format other than single file. Here come the more Goliaths. Yeah, we're not seeing too many worker deaths here. That if that lobotomy mine, yeah, it does go off and it stuns a couple of workers. That's going to be the most annoying thing, I think. But he instantly caps right in his face, so he is aware of the gas sort of drought that he's experiencing, and he's going to take a third base first. I was wondering about that, in these mirror matchups. You want to know what your opponent is doing that's different from you, but you also want to keep in mind what they're doing as far as resources are concerned. And the Wraith is even going to tickle and confirm that there is indeed a third on the way.
The Vulture attack actually did more than you would think, because Scoler also forgot to actually queue his new set of workers.
Oh, interesting. Okay. He's adding a Sentinel to his natural. The Cyclops are zoning away the Wraith, or maybe they killed it. And the Ministry will continue on something resembling its default schedule. Now we have Heracles and Goliaths in the next set of drops, and there's not really any, scout versus this. There's a Sentinel being added. There's some Goliaths still over here. Quarry being added to the main. Okay, so I think Scoler has enough to, help zone this away. He is kind of locking some of his workers around, and his SimCity is not the best. He's even actually trying to leave with his Goliaths, which is going to bite him in the ass if he's, if they are indeed out of the way. Another Sentinel moving around here. Yeah, he's not actually spotting this out just yet, and he doesn't really have too many units to defend here. And that Sentinel is not going to last exactly. One Heracles already very close to being destroyed. And he has an anchor over here, but there's nothing in it.
Hey, this push looks scary.
It is pretty scary, but the problem is the couple of units that are in his main are just going to run roughshod over it, right?
He could try to lift his Sentinel. Yeah, that's exactly what he's trying to do. Will he repair his phalanx? Or...
Well, more units popped out on the other side, and I don't think that the focus was here for neblime.
Oh,
He's killing watchdogs.
The Sentinel on that ram at the bottom is actually getting a lot of value.
Yeah, the whole position wasn't there, the movement wasn't there. Scoler is having there's just a massacre of stuff. I think he was using the anchor for vision mostly so that he could get more shots on the phalanx. Not a bad move necessarily. And we have madrigals here.
What I would actually love to see is some offensive Sentinels. I think that would actually work really great to solidify his push.
Yeah, absolutely. He's even slowly taking out some of these defenses here, so I feel like neblime is actually on a bit of a timer. The resources have not been resaturated in the main for Scoler, so he is actually going to be running dry of his bank in short order, I would imagine. There goes that Sentinel, a bunch of phalanxes.
Yeah, he's trying
to be deployed.
He's still having some idle Masons. I wonder if he has his camera hotkey set up. I don't see him actually teleporting his camera. It looks like manual panning. That might be a thing that he might want to correct.
He lands the anchor mostly just to take shots.
Madcaps, which is pretty neat.
Yeah.
And see how fast they fucking fire now.
Yes.
Now, even one madcap can actually deal a lot of damage. One thing to keep in mind.
Oh, look at the shot here.
Is
there was a lot of damage that just went down to the natural, and the third is already cleaned up. I feel like neblime's about to close this.
Yeah. So yeah, the one thing with madcaps is that they don't actually have that much health, so they can be killed. But if they are not killed, they deal a lot of damage. So something to be aware of. But I think phalanxes can deal with them pretty well.
They can.
It's just,
yeah.
will Scoler have enough?
I mean, he's down by 54 workers
numbers.
right now.
Yeah.
So it feels pretty
Come
unwinnable
on.
just from that statistic alone. And Anvil starting in the 3rd for Neblime. He's actually setting up his 4th. In that
You know,
lower area.
I think he had a great chance of coming back if had he just actually queued his workers. I know I'm obsessing over that here, but it does feel like he missed a lot of them.
Well, he's going to charge forward with a whole host of Goliaths. He definitely has a lot of forces here. So this army is scary.
But he is getting attacked now, and then although maybe the Sentinels can hold it off. That is actually an interesting swing. But economically,
Yeah, the 3rd Sentinel just finished. I do feel like this will be enough to shred through the Madcaps. You can see them not absorbing the damage nearly as well as they would like to.
yeah, it's true, but Scoler is also losing a few more Masons, which is making it a matter of time when he actually gets outscaled, I think.
There's an empty Trojan rolling into the base right now.
Yep.
And there's no Watchdog to shoot it down. Oh, we do have a freeze here. Scoler does have this every now and then, so we'll just give him a second.
Imagine if he just unplugged his Eternate cable.
That is the classic
It would be
move.
funny. I think some game you actually did that too. What was Brood War? To not get allos to actually.
Oh,
get
you might be
like-
thinking about there's a story of the old Counter-Strike days. I don't think it was in Go. It was probably in 1.6 or Source. You just like plug into a server and just start unplugging and plugging your router over and over again and be like, oh, I'm getting real bad lag, real bad loss here. And then you pick a server that's closer to you.
I do think I also remember an RTS game where that was possible, but no sure.
I'm not sure. I mean, it might be possible in Brood War too to do like a lag, not really a lag switch, but to, constantly disconnect and reconnect.
No, it was like just if you disconnect, you wouldn't get counted as a loss. That was what was happening, I think. Some RTS game.
Oh yeah, I have to translate. Well, I'm not sure. He's saying he is still in the game,
Yeah.
but he's also saying he's just saying yes. I don't know what that means exactly. Oh yeah, he's in the menu. Yeah, he disconnected. Okay. Well, there you go. I think we hand that to Neblime. I mean, he was clearly in the driver's seat, so to speak.
Yep.
So we'll have to hand that one over.
So. Wait, what? Freaker is hosting a match.
Yeah, he's probably waiting for Shambler or somebody else.
Yep.
I hope Benno is still awake over there. It's getting quite late in his neck of the woods. It is a little unfortunate that it ended that way, but like I said earlier, it's definitely, it was Neblime's game to lose at that point. So. I really don't think that he would have. He had the empty Trojan scouting everything. He had a Seraph with an anvil building a Morning Star, so he was gonna go for a nuke. And it's infinite velocity selected by Benno. Can you believe it? And yes, green eggs and spam. I know it's crazy how close we get to nukes sometimes, and then it just doesn't happen. So Vic, I was telling you this earlier, I think.
Yeah.
That after this tournament, or maybe like in between this and playoffs or something, I'm going to sit down with DF and have him take a look at the main iScript hook and the Warp Flash hook that weren't working properly that we needed to hook for.
Yeah, that would be nice. I think
Starcraft
if those
extension.
hooks are handled, I should be able to finish the actual port of the variables using Unity. That was, I think, Image XT or Spider.
Yeah, you
XT,
started it
something
for the
like that.
purpose of extending iScript, but you had a different idea for how to do it than X405, and X405 is just not. You know, he's busy with main work and stuff, so.
Yeah, I mean, it was similar. He just wanted to use like an explicit array or something, and I wanted to just extract it to our convention, which is the ext variables, right? So.
Okay, we'll get this started here. Infinite Velocity, a map that is very large and very much in charge. And that, while we get ourselves acquainted here, the left-hand side is Benno. He is vivid orange. And who's that on the right? Who is that, Veek?
It's neblime in Palatinate blue. I didn't even know that's a color.
Yeah, that's actually one of the more recents, but I think it's going on a year old now, so it's been there for a bit.
Yeah, one annoying thing about this color does the minimap color doesn't reflect the one in the game, which is unfortunate, I'd say.
There's a very it's like specifically there's a deep like vivid blue pixel. One of them is like one of the shades is really deep, and that's the one that was used.
Yep.
Classic pronog honk. Love that. By the way, I couldn't make it say pronogo for the suffix, the prefix or whatever. It had to say pronog. Who the hell wants to be named pronog? Well, anyway, that's just how it is. The Blime currently 2-0 in the group. As predicted, TVTs are a little bit on the slower side, but also we did have that silly game that happened at the beginning.
Yep. And we also had a TVZ that we voided.
Absolute voiding. That's just like, you know, you occasionally have like party tricks and stuff to keep the kids entertained at the birthday party.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that. So Benno's Mason is departing just as Neblime's is arriving, and the Stockade is training the Maverick. So that should be a nice and easy way to put that scout to bed. You know, I like to attack the Maverick with my Mason because it's unlikely that I escape. My opponent has to kind of throw for that. And, you know, maybe he just builds, maybe he just repairs it or whatever. Although in this case, it might actually escape because Benno's not paying attention. But I think, yeah, he stims ahead to catch up and off it goes. But, you know, you do a little bit more damage, then you have to repair a little bit longer. And who knows what happens there. It's like a little bit of lost mining time. And then also the sass of like, this guy just attacked my Maverick with his worker? Like, what?
Yeah, you might need to actually micro, spend APM, or you need to spend some HP.
Yes.
I mean, he did spend 10 HP to catch it, but
yeah,
maybe he could have cost him more.
The Mason is arriving. Benno will now see what his opponent is up to. A Stockade coming pretty late because it was a Ministry first. Fast expansion here for a Neblime.
Yep.
And Benno may or may not spot that. I mean, he should be suspicious, right? This is only all you have? This Stockade coming? You got gas harvesting? What's going on over here? But Benno has not yet scouted the top right. Remember on this map, it takes 4 minutes for those Atlases to burn down of their own accord. And it looks like it's going to be Goliath Cleric again.
I had to constantly scout and check if it's already open.
Oh, I see. Interesting. Yeah, if you didn't know ahead of time that it was 4 minutes specifically.
Yep.
So. Did you play this map today? I can't believe I have to ask you this question because
it was the last win against Kuhn.
Oh right, okay. And he did
second win.
Yeah, that's right. You did the double warden and stuff, right?
Yep.
And then cancel your nexus the top right. I'm remembering now. See, even though that was just a small amount of time ago. Now this is kind of scary because the anchor is here with one Cyprian, but the Atlases have been destroyed early. Benno's going to try to charge on through, and he could do some damage here. Especially, he pops this Atlas, the other one burns down pretty soon after. I think he's just going to go ahead and pop it, and actually the anchor is on its way. The Cleric being the one to face is a little awkward there. And yeah, now you see all the Mavericks. Well, no, Benno's content to just walk past. And the Cleric does stay alive. The Masons are here.
You see a Mason pool.
Yeah, the second Cyprian finished, so this attack shouldn't last too much longer. But this is
I think
delaying
it's
mining
actually
time.
dealing more damage than it should because Neblime decided to pull so many Masons. Although, maybe that was necessary, actually.
Oh, the Goliaths can do a lot, surprisingly, but a little bit of micro here for Benno can definitely help him out. One of the Cyprians just went back into the anchors, so... And you have to watch out for workers. The workers have one armor pen, so they will actually do some damage.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
One nice touch would be to repair that Maverick, but Neblime didn't do that in time, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And we see 2 Goliaths and 1 Cleric.
This is dangerous here from Neblime. I think he could have just barely lost that Cyprian. It's one shot away, and yeah, he's just gonna try to force his way through with two Goliaths now. We haven't really looked at Benno's base back at home. He is floating a little bit, but he's keeping production pretty steady. Neblime obviously having more... Oh, that's a ballsy idea for a stockade to be there. He is getting more workers at his natural, but he's now losing a lot. He doesn't have that much military.
Yeah, that is a tough spot to be in. Although, you know, if he defends, he already has enough, so...
He still has a worker advantage throughout all of this, but the fact is the Cleric is staying alive. Second Cyprian being allowed to enter into the anchor is pretty nice for Neblime, but now this base is having itself shut down. He can transfer the workers to his natural if he wants to, but...
And the third Goliath is coming with another Cleric.
Yeah, that can just take up shop on the other side or walk into the natural. Suddenly you're split. I mean, this...
Actually would be very careful of lifting that anchor because Goliaths actually...
Oh, they do an incredible amount, yeah.
Their DPS against their units.
Yeah, this is a lot of damage, and it's...
He should actually just lift his stockades.
Yeah, I think so, too. Oh, one of the Cyprians finishes, but it just gets bopped. That one Goliath is really low, and Benno should definitely try to invest some work into repairing it, but at this point he must be thinking to himself,
actually,
like,
I don't think Benno knows about the nut. He will check it, probably. He might see the stockade now.
Yes, he's starting to attack it. Yeah. He realizes, oh, this whole time you've had this base, huh? Well, I'm just going to go ahead and mosey on down here. Don't mind if I do. More Goliaths and an Ahmed are here. The anchor is going to try to... This could be a bait because, like, Neblime thinks, oh, I have the cliff advantage. I can now attack him. But there's more units behind him, and I think, yeah, at this stage, you can absolutely just focus fire. Ahmed can shred the armor. I don't think he got his attack off there. The sound might have been a bit of a, you know, deception. But the anchor is going to go down. I think, honestly, that might be it. The worker pull is good, but the Goliaths are still firing. The clerics are all dead. Some Hurricanes are here to rend the armor. That's going to be a big help. Ahmed is trying to save the day, but these Goliaths are still doing their part. Remember, the worker count is still favoring Neblime narrowly, but he's got a lot of idle ones and still does not have the worker advantage.
Benno closed the gap on worker count, and he did expand now, so economically they're pretty much even, but...
This Goliath's still running fucking roughshod in the natural, killing more workers.
Yep. I think he's just gonna kill the Nidus now. Yeah, that's exactly.
He could. I was actually expecting him to just walk on through and attack, but instead there's going to be double star pad back at home for Benno. That's a pretty big deal because...
He just killed the Goliath. So now they're pretty much even.
Well, yeah, I don't know. You say that, but I still feel like Neblime might feel... Like, it sounds weird to say, but I feel like psychologically Neblime is not ahead, right?
I think Benno has been inflicted with some... I mean, Neblime was inflicted with some psychological pressure, and he will now probably react a bit more defensively, and he'll try...
Oh my goodness. I just remembered one of the most ridiculous games that I played ever in my history was... Neblime, or sorry, it was against Benno, TVT on this map. We base traded, I expanded to the island, and I just killed him with mass wraith. That seems to have imprinted because he is building a lot of wraiths. But he's not building anything else, and there are some more units coming, right? So like he needs to be wary of the potential push. He has no anchors.
The Neblime attack might actually be pretty dangerous because he doesn't even have one Goliath now.
Oh, he has two. They're at the ramp. Yeah, he's actually going to move ahead. This is really good for him because he'll at least spot it.
Hopefully he pays attention.
Well, they're on attack moves, so they'll probably just pick off a Maverick or something, but... Yeah, he's got to watch out here.
Yeah, he's got to be careful with that armor shred. Oh, no! The Cleric with accidental block.
We love that. That happens all the time in Brood War, and people are never unhappy to see that. Well, the Wraiths are about to hit
Yeah,
the
I just
natural. There is
remember-
one Watchdog, but, you know, will he be able to hold position and deny gas mining maybe? Try to pick off the worker count? He's only behind by 4. So he's scouting out a lot right now. There is an anchor on the way, so the Goliaths can just hop in there and defend. And I don't think that... I think that diffuses a lot of the pressure that Neblime has, but he does have a couple star pads of his own in the main. Going for mass drops, it looks like.
Ah, might be interesting.
I think the Wraiths may have spotted that. But still, you can just build an overwhelming number of Wraiths and start sniping Watchdogs into Masons. So this still could be very lethal. Benno now has a total of 10 Wraiths, and that is a pretty good number. I mean, that's 100 damage if they all attack the same target. Like, you can make Watchdogs eviscerate, right? You can make them evaporate in essentially 3 salvos because of the armor. It's just a question of whether the drops get scouted ahead of time, right? There's so many units in these, and I don't think the Wraiths are going to be on an intercept course for it. I mean, at the same time, the Trojans can turn around and try to, like, drop to defend, which they might have to do based on the number of Wraiths here.
Yeah, but you gotta be careful because Wraiths can actually snipe Trojans if microed properly.
Yeah. Okay, he pulls the workers off, and the Trojans are coming. But the Wraiths at this point have done their job and more. They see the
Wraiths are not stuck together, and oh no.
a lot of damage gets put on them, but only losing, I think, 1 or 2. And most importantly, he sees the Trojans, right? The jig is up now, and Neblime has to worry about that. This base will absolutely get attacked if Benno pays attention, like the third that was being set up there shouldn't be allowed to be confirmed. There's an ant seal here for detection, which is absolutely going to be useful. More Wraiths still being pumped out, and adding an anchor in the main. He knows that, or in the natural rather, Benno does know that there's you know, a liable potential for rushes here. He should absolutely just come in here and pick off Cyprians. See what he wants to be trigger happy for. He's obviously... It's very hard to hide that kind of shimmer, but he should be real aware that the, you know, Mavericks...
Oh.
Look at this ministry positioning. He's
Look
going to
at
go
this
for the
drop,
island, and it's going to scout out the Trojans.
Yeah, he didn't pay attention.
Well, he should have seen it on the mini-map.
Fine.
Hopefully, he...
Yeah. Oh yeah, he just checked it with his camera.
Well, I think that was Neblime if it was the blue one, yeah. He's...
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Wraiths are actually leaving now, but they need to turn around to defend against this drop, I think. We'll have to wait and see. What does Benno decide to do? A single Maverick unloaded to attack that ministry. No, Benno's just going to move
his
across.
second flag of rage is actually coming. Oh, okay, it's coming back. Cool.
He's
And
also...
will
He's
snipe
pulling
the
back all of
Trojans.
them. Yeah. Yeah, this is
not
good. This
defending,
denies
though.
any follow-up, right? Without a more heavy investment. So that's actually not a
Yeah.
bad play. And I don't think that the mech army, or the bio army rather, can actually attack up into this. The ministry did get torched down, which is unfortunate. Because that
Yeah, I
does mean
guess
that
he
Neblime has
accepted
the...
his loss if the natural. He didn't think he would probably save it, so he just decided to defend the ramp and attack with Wraiths. Which is not a bad shout, I think.
Yeah, the problem is, I mean, there is an ant seal here, right? And he has 22 Wraiths, but the Cyprians can do some damage. There's only a few Cyprians here, admittedly, so he should absolutely... Oh, he's going to focus down the Atlas, actually. He kills
And
it.
there was no
no cancel. That's a huge amount of money that now swings the game, maybe not into Benno's favor, but he is absolutely still in this now. Now, the problem is he's going to get outscaled, right? The Ministry is only now moving to the island. Drops were definitely on the table. He needs to add more anchors with defense, you know? He's dropping his own
Yeah, so
Atlas.
Benno is 14 workers behind, but he does have a lot of buying, so he can still...
There's nothing in that anchor. If that is this could be huge, right? That anchor going down.
Right. I mean, I'd probably focus the workers first, but...
Well, the fact that the anchor goes down means that there's not really a way for Neblime to defend against this. His bio army is moving halfway across the map,
Yeah,
so...
sure. That's true.
Yeah, he's down a lot of workers, but a lot of these workers
Well,
are just going to get
big
picked
ramp
up.
to Benno's base is undefended, so
Yes,
that might
yeah.
be scary.
Yeah, and that's where his anchor is, too. He's only now setting up a base in the top left. He's completely unaware of the potential. There is a Goliath that was rallied over here. If Benno pays attention to his minimap, which he just did see... Okay, at the same time, the Ministry is being
moving.
focused down. I feel like... okay, he actually pulls his Wraiths back. So if he pulls his Wraiths back and he kills this army off, I feel like Neblime is probably going to be pressured to GG here. The anchor did actually land again.
It might be too late. Too little, too late.
Yeah, the Goliaths are now revealed inside the anchor. Harakans are staying alive for quite a while. They finally do fall. More Cyprians are here, and the Antseal falls. So now it's just sort of like a bloody Cyprian v Cyprian fight for the most part. The anchor finishes. Nothing's in it just yet. More and more Wraiths are here. Yeah, I think this is going to be enough for the hold. I don't think Neblime is going to be able to come back from this deficit, to be honest. His Atlas is rebought. It is about to be finished. He's going to go ahead and drop his third down back again.
I'm
after
very
repairing
curious
it.
what Neblime is aiming for with tier 2. What switch will he go for?
Right.
Because as you can see, he doesn't have any factories, which means he can't just add in machine shops. So
Yeah.
that might be something more expensive, like captaincy, or I mean, I don't think he would actually go the second add-on for
The Covenant, right.
for
yeah.
Stockade, but yeah.
He's
but
adding starports.
I guess it could be
so
interesting. I see. Okay.
We'll see what he wants to do there. Tier 2.5 was made more expensive.
Oh,
for
maybe
Termination.
he wants to go Valkyries. That wouldn't be bad.
Yeah, versus all the Wraiths, right? He had success against it there. I still feel like if Benno just kept producing Wraiths this entire time, I mean, he has his own Palladium, he's adding his own starports, so I think he's going to commit to the air army, and he's harvesting gas from his natural again, setting up the third base on location, adding some Masons who are just sort of floating around here in the island, and that base is going to get tickled by this Wraith, too. But 17 Wraiths is not going to be enough to overwhelm the Cyprians that are over here at the third base for Neblime. He's actually adding... He's going to go for a Cyprian drop, it looks like. The Wraiths are... Okay, the Cyprians are going to be dedicated to clearing that island. No Sentinel in sight.
Yep.
So this Wraith is going to get killed by the Watchdog there. There is that. Benno, not really 100% sure what he wants to do. He's going to pick off some Watchdogs at the extremities. Mavericks are stemmed forward, but Cyprians are a little bit slower. Yeah, mostly just picking off a couple of things at the extremities, but yeah, this Ministry is not long for this world, so it'll have to go and land somewhere more domestic. Only one starport, building some phalanxes, or a phalanx. And that's about it right now for Benno. It feels like he's kind of lost control of the game as far as he's got so much money that could be units, right?
Yep.
And the Valkyries are out for Neblime, like you called earlier, Vic.
Yeah. Yeah, Benno really just needs to place more production because he has a lot of minerals that he could be using, and yet he's not.
Well, he's adding the Fountainhead. So it looks like he's probably going to go for Sundogs. An attempted drop gets cleaned up without almost any losses at all. This Maverick up top could definitely be cleared with these Wraiths, and I think it will be, so that will allow the Ministry to land, and Benno can go up to 4 bases, but he's not mining from his third, so it's going to be a while before he's really in a
This map I
position.
realized is very interesting because you have actually 2 full geysers in your mains, and you also have a lot of minerals.
Yeah, very,
Something I did not
resource
expect when
heavy.
I was playing it.
Right.
Yeah. Which technically means you're not that pressured to expand, which does help when you're being cheesed.
There's a little bit of a scuffle in the middle
Valkyries
here.
are being poked. Tickled by Goliath.
That Phalanx should absolutely be back up at the high ground and try to do its best to get out of the situation, but it looks like Benno's just going to go ahead and sacrifice it.
Yep.
Yeah, and you mentioned earlier the Goliaths were doing some damage to the Valkyries. That can't be restored because there is no shaman with this
no
group.
Masons.
Yeah.
There is a cleric, but they don't heal up.
Yes. Just like most, Akhma doesn't attack up. Well, there goes that first Valkyrie. And the Phalanx is getting some pretty good spread damage over here. There is 2 Ant Seals, but they weren't in position to absorb any of that. And obviously Splash doesn't work too well with them either.
I'm kind of surprised that Neblime is still so heavily focused on bio, even though his enemies having phalanxes. But I guess he does build a lot of starport units now, going with Wyverns.
Oh, here we go. The
I
Wraiths are
will
getting
win
chewed
this
up.
game.
Yeah, there needed to be more Goliaths or something with this army if he wanted to defend himself against that. And they both went Wyverns actually, interestingly enough. But you can see here the Phalanxes are just going to get picked apart by those units.
Yeah, but it does feel like Neblime had a better economical tempo.
Yes.
And that's why he has so much more Wyverns than Benno. And Benno still has in place additional stockades / captaincies or whatever.
Yeah, Benno has
Just
3,000
because,
minerals,
He has
and
a lot of money.
yes, he just isn't.
And he also has
spending
a
any of it.
lot of idle masons.
Yeah, I think this is where his, he's
It's unfortunate because I feel like his composition was superior for most of the game.
Yeah.
yet
no. If he had
just
if he
sees
had kept committing
macro.
to the Master Wraith and he had sniped another Atlas or something, I think then he's able to, stop a lot of this before it really begins. The mantles are coming up now, so cataphracts will be en route, usually with Trojans, I imagine. And a lot of these wyverns are being peppered by the Goliaths. And the bio is going to be held at bay purely just because of the couple wyverns over here, plus the phalanx in the background. But maybe the phalanx won't be around for too much longer. The Valkyries are here for Benno.
It goes down.
Obviously, the Valkyries have 3 armor, so Mavericks do very little damage to them. And here comes the Worker Massacre, because the wyverns do deal some splash damage.
Yeah, let's say Neblime has secured the air superiority, which allowed him to really pressure here.
Yeah, there's no armor pen, and the Valkyries attack 6 times. So they're being affected by armor quite a bit. And the wyverns do have 3 armor.
Unfortunately, Neblime doesn't have anything to defend from the Valkyries, but he is trying to move to avoid some of the interception missiles.
Yes, he is. The Ancials are defending against the incoming shots here. Valkyries have scrambled backwards after picking off a whole number of wyverns, but losing so much mining, absolutely going to prevent him from doing too much more at this point. And he's even going to lose these Ancials. Okay, so the game is kind of like stabilizing a little bit. There's more Valkyries on the way for... Yeah, but here comes the big drop, right? So when you see a big map like this, you expect a drop from Terran. And it's kind of like a Doom drop at this point, right? We see this in TBT and stock Starcraft as well. So we'll have to see what happens there. The Valkyries chasing Valkyries is a shot that you probably never thought you'd see in TBT. Goliaths coming up to try to add support. And they all kind of clump up there. That was not super good for Neblime. And yeah, the rest of them are just going to get picked apart.
And the Goliaths. Hey, Goliath plus Valkyrie is a pretty strong composition against her.
It's also kind of thematic, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes. Obviously, at this point, Neblime is up to 4 bases. Technically, the same can be said about Benno, but he's really not saturated on 2 of them.
So the mains are getting pretty quickly depleted.
Yeah, here comes the Doom drop in Benno's main as well, so he's going to have to scramble his attention elsewhere.
Can we see cataphracts?
Oh, yes. Absolutely wrecking the worker count here.
Well, he is, but this base was also depleted, so it wasn't that much. But yeah, he's extending the gap between...
Yes.
The economical gap is getting even bigger.
Now, Goliaths aren't too bad against cataphracts, but... The problem is there's equal numbers of cataphracts to Goliaths, so yeah, okay, now this might swing a little bit of a different favor. One of the cataphracts has gone down.
Oh, man. The cataphracts is sorry. The focus was a bit weird.
He's trying to focus down the Atlas during this time, but there's a lot of armor on it. And this composition didn't have any Hurricanes with it, so the armor is not actually going to get focused down after all. Yeah, the Atlas is going to stay alive. It's a question of whether Benno knows to repair it. One of his star pads is going to fall, but...
He has a Mason, but it's following his... Oh yeah, it's going to his third. Will he repeat it?
Will he? Yeah, is he even going to be aware? I mean, if that pops, he might as well say GG. He's not favored right now anyway, but he surely needs to click that and think to himself. He does have a data law on the way.
Tier 2.5, right?
What is?
Mantle?
Yes, yeah.
It's 2.5, right?
Daedal is coming now for Neblime, but it's very late. Maybe the Atlas doesn't matter as much if you can get it. Oh my god, Ahmed Cataphract is a combination. Honestly, the Valkyries are actually absorbing a lot of the shots that the Cataphracts would otherwise be putting onto the Wyverns, so it's not even a bad shout to use them necessarily. Here come the Valkyries anyway, for both sides now. More Cataphracts, more Cyprians. This might just break Benno anyway, and his Atlas is still burning. He hasn't got much. He didn't invest in any, any anti-ground, really, any dedicated anti-ground with phalanxes or anything like that would really punish these very slow-moving units. Cyprians are going to try to do some group damage to the Sentinel and all of its workers, but Cataphracts are here to do some damage to the Masons as well. That Sentinel is staying alive for quite a while, and the Goliaths are even here to bring down the Valkyries. So the Wyverns will also all fall, but Neblime's forces once again not proving the victor here. That Atlas has 50 health. Veek, it's going to happen.
Oh no, it's gonna burn.
It is going to burn. I mean, both islands have been taken by Neblime now, taking the bottom middle base as well.
And it also means he loses access to his Fountainhead.
Yep. Yeah, the whole tier 2.5 thing is about to pop for him. He does have the data lib, but what is he going to use it for, right? Ahmed burned down the 4th base for Benno as well.
Oh, almost. He had the mace under.
Oh,
That he just realized.
It has exploded. At least we caught it on the stream.
Yep.
Will that be enough to convince Benno? The Blime could go up 3-0 here. The TVT matches, they are going. There's a very healthy saturation at this 3rd. He's like oversaturated to it, but he lost his ministry at the 4th, so he can't really do anything about that. Could transfer some of them to the main, although it's depleted, and the natural is coming up too. Another drop coming in, but a lot of those units ended up getting bopped by the Watchdogs. Some of these Trojans were actually empty, almost like decoys, which is kind of interesting. Or maybe they unloaded while moving. I just don't think that the drop tactics from Neblime are really going to be too decided. I mean, he's going to scout the data, I think. He definitely did because of the Trojan flyover. But he can't really finish the job this way. He's got such a better economy, but he's not investing in anything that's actually tier 3, so we think. Iron Foundry, Atelier. Okay, so he's going to start breaking out the big guns. I think we might see maybe some Penumbra. At the very least, some Paladins. You can load a Paladin into a Trojan. Takes up the entire spot. Yeah. So we might see that.
It would be nice to see Pythians, honestly.
Yes, they do require the nanite assembly now because I ended up removing the old structure, right? So. A single Cyprian is tickling this 4th base as it gets set up, but a Wyvern is here to save it.
Is nanite from Atelier, or is it data line?
Nanite is from Atelier, yeah. So you need that first, and then you can start adding Pythians.
Yeah, you might actually do it. Who knows?
Anvil on the 3rd for Neblime, as well as 2 Apothecaries, so he is adding some more tier 3 options. Oh, no diadems just yet from either of our players. Oh, there's one going down in the middle for Neblime, so spoke too soon on that one. But yeah, the main is just in shambles here for Benno, and the Shambler isn't even playing yet. Yeah.
And another one.
It's going to be so hard for... Oh, look at that. Yeah, in the island base, there's another one going down. Yep. It's just going to be so hard for Benno to really do anything.
Is the flying of diadems, like, when they lift off and they land, is this fixed? Or do they still spin?
I mean, there was some really, really weird way you could still make it happen, but it's super niche now. I don't think it's possible anymore. And honestly, it was Lower Skates doing it, so I just blame him for breaking the game. I think it's his fault. I don't think it's the game. Actually, it was Luciferius. I take that back. 14 Goliaths, all various states of being bruised or not. We don't have any nukers just yet. Some Cuirasses are out. Obviously, they need a new model because they're supposed to be way bigger, but don't worry about it. We'll figure that out later. Nothing that can nuke just yet. Some Silver Tongues coming out of these Apothecaries. That Anvil does not have a Morningstar loaded in just yet.
Cuirasses can deploy, right?
Not yet. They require the new model for that. Yeah, they'll turn into like forward anchors almost. You can garrison eventually, so that'll be very, very interesting. The diadem has deployed. The Valkyries are going to spot it. That's a really scary thought. If you're... Well, actually, not really. I mean, in this case, you can just walk up the Wyverns, right? You don't even need to attack it with the Goliaths here. I feel like this is a mistake from Benno. He can just walk up here. Oh, he's actually forced the liftoff already, though.
Oh.
He's not going to be able to pick it off, obviously, but he's actually even lost a Wyvern and a Valkyrie to the Watchdogs there. It was a little awkward. I would say even though that wasn't successful, there's a little cheek in that, and I mean, there's no mining happening
Well,
at
the
the first
Vimers
base.
are harassing, and he's not really having any response to it.
Yeah, he only has the
But
one
we see an
watchdog.
advance of the diadems in the middle of the map, so they might start tickling Benno.
I think it's more of a tickle when that thing hits you.
Yeah. It's almost paralyzing.
Still no anvil, no loaded anvil here for Neblime. Yeah, his island base is being, sort of made
Now, when
mincemeat.
you hover the icon for nukes, it still says nukes instead of like thunder or something or whatever they want.
Oh, it would probably be warheads, yeah. Is what I would call it.
Warheads.
Technically, nukes is still correct, like, because that's the only thing you can make, but eventually we want to add more than just one missile. So, a couple of shots have been ringing off here. Yeah, I feel like Benno must feel just suffocated at this point, right? He does have access to nanite assemblies. So he has invested the money, but he doesn't have hippogriffs, which would help him out here. Instead, he has centaurs. And look at this. The Azazels are doing their best to keep their units alive. Centaurs are out, but I don't know if they're going to out DPS the Azazel. I mean, his Goliaths can absolutely focus fire the Azazel, and should, but he's kind of just like awkwardly walking towards the Shamans, which end up getting bopped. Oh no, the Cuirasses.
No.
They're getting tickled to death by the ion field. Well, I guess they just end up repairing themselves anyway, so maybe... It's been so long since I've seen that unit, I actually kind of forgot that that's what happens. But...
Yeah, me too.
Dude, there's still... This anvil's not getting used. How can we possibly say that you can nuke in TBT? There's a Pythian out for Benno. What's he going to use it for is the question. Maybe he can lift off his hopes and dreams, because that's pretty much all he's got
Well,
left.
Benno is bleeding. He has 148 workers, but only 8 military units.
Yeah, he doesn't have much
And
left.
he's not even controlling them. He doesn't have them in a control group. And Pythian is one of them, so very much.
More centaurs are finishing. I mean, the Cuirasses don't do damage. The Cataphracts don't really do damage.
Yeah, that's true.
But I guess you might...
I honestly forgot the Cataphract even exists as a unit.
Yeah. Well, there goes 3 Goliaths in one shot from the Diadem. This is the most unorthodox but also Terran way to win a game, honestly.
Oh, just a Silver Tongue.
Yes. Oh, the Silver Tongue's coming in and the Diadem's landing. GG is going to be called. 30 minutes in. Our largest map so far. The meatiest of the TVTs. Yep. And it was taken. I have to give Benno a shout out there. He absolutely could have won that match.
Yeah, I think because I think compositionally for the most time he was better. And had he just not slip up with macro, I think he had very much lots of potential to actually take the top there. I'll quickly, baby.
Sure. I'm going to host this lobby when... okay, it's going to be Death Spiral from Mr. Scoler. Yes, we haven't seen 3.5 in a long time, so that's pretty legit. I'm going to go ahead and BRB here because I do have to use the bathroom. So when I come back, we'll get this show here on the road. I have returned. I'm quite surprised we didn't see any nuking. There you go. I let him know, Green Eggs. I'm watching you.
Death Spiral.
Death Spiral indeed. Welcome, Viker.
Hi.
I have no more water, so I'll probably have to BRB again. I like he says XD instead of ready. Just commits to the goddamn bit here. Let's go and get after it. Now, we did only play 3 matches that were actually counted in this time, and we're more than halfway through the allotted time for the group. So I can't wait for this to, you know, go 50 minutes from this point onward, right? It is Death Spiral. It has happened before. Why would Neblime do that right after me? Well, Neblime is Lemon, which is not Neblime, but he is Terran, and he is in the mid-left of Death Spiral.
Scoler is blue, and he's in mid-right, and he's playing Terran.
Of course, Terran only in this group. Besides that one intrusion from 3Crow.
Yeah, he had to just break the simulation, as always.
As always. We'll see what Scoler wants to do differently this time around. Was he taking notes in that last game? Does he know that the Mass Wraith is a potential strategy?
So yeah, you know, when I was playing the last game against Kian, I actually chose Infinite Velocity because I quickly opened the maps in the editor to make sure what they were, remind myself. And I felt like Infinite Velocity was actually more standard because it had a more standard-ish expansion, right? And I didn't feel very confident to play Death Spiral because it's kind of less standard, and I feel like I would have to learn it a bit more.
Sure, yeah.
That's some trivia for you, I guess.
Well, I think that's one of the reasons I wanted to retire Death Spiral before this tournament. We just didn't end up getting too many tested maps ahead of it. I actually was thinking about throwing Thin Ice in there. The problem is, Thin Ice is a map that Veek made, for context, to those people who don't know. The problem is that it had gotten some games in, but then we changed the terrain so that Ice had a cliff disadvantage, and that's where the third was.
Yeah, I also updated it a bit to have like a small safe knot.
Oh, okay.
And I also corrected something else. I guess it was I just changed some visuals probably.
Right, gotcha. Yeah, it was one of those things that I was thinking about, like, I haven't seen the most recent version of it, but it was like, if we're complaining about maps not having safe thirds, and then we add one in that actually has a cliff disadvantage for the third, that could be pretty awkward, right? So,
yeah.
Just how it worked out. It doesn't look like Scholar's too interested in scouting this time around. At least I don't see any Mason corpses.
I might just need to convert that third to like a high expo. Ideally, it would be a mid expo. I guess maybe I could try to make the knot one cliff upper, and then the main would be like highest ice, highest snow or something. Maybe that would work.
That could do the job if you wanted to do it that angle. You could also instead just have it be the third could just be the same height level as the stuff around it, but maybe it's closer to the ice middle, since ice is now a cliff disadvantage. That would act as the...
Well, I wouldn't want it to be fully puffable. Like, I actually wanted distinct entrances to it.
Sure, yeah.
So that's why I went with ice. But...
Well, you can make chokes and stuff. You might take a look at the revised Otherworld for inspiration on stuff like that. It's going to be a fast expansion here for Scoler, going the macro game. And meanwhile, double stockade, lots of bio being produced here. I feel like this is a dangerous play from Neblime, mostly because you can just go ahead and drop an anchor at any point. And
well, you know, Neblime, I don't think... I'm not sure. Yeah, he definitely... Oh, no, never mind. Maybe he did scout.
He hasn't scouted the Ministry. He only scouted the stockade opener. But it's going to be another attempt at... Oh, actually, if he goes Mass Cyclops, he could absolutely sort of blast this army.
Stockade is bugged, and it says it's making a Mason / What the
Oh
hell?
no! If you select a unit,
Yeah, it shows you the previous
Yeah.
queue for some reason. I'm sure
it's
why.
it's training an add-on. That's a bug that I haven't been able to fix just yet. That's another thing I probably have to ask. Vic to
Alright,
look
there
at.
is a
Or
push
the
from
official thing.
neblime.
Yes, there is.
Let's see how that goes.
He's actually going to go through the back door entrance, which I'm not sure Scoler is aware of because he doesn't have any units in that direction.
It is interesting. He is expanding behind that. Would be funny if Scoler decided to now attack from the other angle.
Well, he's sending a single
He is
Cyclops across
scouting
the
with
map.
Cyclops,
Yeah, just to scout around and see what's going on here. But there's a lot of Hurricanes coming up. This could be a very quick game.
This might be game ending, yeah.
Just because he wasn't, watching his other entrance, right? So he's aware now. How quick does he pull his workers to his natural? He's losing a whole bunch of them because
Oh
someone
my
went from the
Ahmed.
southern. Oh, no, he's actually going straight after the Ministry. He could have lifted this off to maybe save it because Ahmed wouldn't have been able to attack it there. But instantaneous snipe on that Ministry, that's going to set him behind. I mean, he can still harvest a lot from his main, but he's losing a lot of Masons here.
Yep.
Oh, look at the lovely pathing that Blizzard gave us.
Hell yeah.
The Cyclops has already fallen, and Scoler does indeed. G.
Yeah, and he's our first qualifier to
Yes, Neblime has made it in.
to the playoffs.
Now we get into an interesting situation because
Oh, I think I pushed my smooth scroll with Dabak message.
yes, you did. I thought that was intentional.
Funny.
Situ is selected. This is a map that I have practiced with Scoler on TVT, so he should know how it plays out. But we get into an interesting situation now between Benno and Scoler. But first, let's head on over to the bullying corner and bully Neblime for winning.
And I'll actually do one thing, one sec.
Okay. Hello, Neblime. Vik is taking a second, but welcome. You have once again managed to escape your group stage in first place.
Hi.
Hello.
What's up?
Yeah. I didn't get that much Terran practice, but my opponents were also Terrans. Everything kind of evens out, I guess.
Yes, absolutely.
How did you feel with on the game with Benno on infinite velocity?
Oh my god, it was such a disaster at the start. I was like, okay, maybe this wasn't the map to go for this. But I think if I blocked the Goliaths running past the bunker with with Masons, it would have been pretty straightforward victory. I could just repair the bunker and stuff. And I had so many Masons, you saw, even with all that running around the base, I was still fine. I don't know if I was ahead, but I was still in a good enough position to play out the game. If I just blocked with air Masons and, lost even 6 or 7, I think I would have been winning way faster. And then, yeah, it's so hard to end the game once you both get to tier 2, unless you surprise someone with, a lot of Sundogs or something like that. Well, we saw on Boskevine, actually, the sort of phalanx push that that was going down. That can end the game as well, but it didn't in that game either. So, yeah, it feels like a bit of a disaster.
On that game, he was dropped, right? He had to defend his main, and I think that distracted him. He suffered some heavy losses from Sentinels.
Yeah, well, obviously I took a lot of damage from the phalanxes, but it was the plan that, the drops will hopefully do enough.
Well, the thing about the drops is, if your frontal army isn't strong enough to hold, that will absolutely... that will cost you if they go for a frontal assault. Scoler did actually take a game off of me where I kept dropping maybe upwards of half of my military into his base. He would eventually clean it up, but at some point he just said, screw it, let's base trade, and I had way less stuff than he did. So that's a risky run, and I think on Infinite Velocity it was attenuated by Benno kind of losing control of his lead. He had 3,000 mineral float at a number of different occasions, so it felt like maybe that gave you the necessary efficiency, right? And at that stage you were able to trade a little bit more favorably, but it definitely looked like he had your number on Infinite Velocity for a little bit there. That's probably the closest game you had to fight against. I don't know. Did you think Scoler would be?
Was that Benno had a better composition, but he wasn't macroing as well, and that's why he ended up losing.
Yeah.
Well,
Because...
that's the thing about both cataphracts and wyverns is if you just spend a lot of money, you just kind of send them in and stuff will blow up, right? That's sort of my philosophy here. And like you said, he's banking a lot. So I guess my whole plan is like not worry too much about what I'm making, just make stuff and send it. And even though I suffered terrible losses, right? Like I lost a lot of units that game, I sort of was just taking more bases and sending more stuff. And I think it was a huge moment when I found that hidden CC. I don't know how else he was going in the game. But when I found that, it was like, okay, that's easy to counteract what he's doing there.
Right. Well, not only that, but I feel like, did you feel like you were really behind after all the early aggression happened? Like in that match in particular?
I don't know what the reality is. Maybe you noticed, but I had the impression he didn't have a CC that fast. Sorry, a ministry.
Yeah.
And that my Mason count was probably pretty good compared to his. Even though I lost a lot, look, no offense to Benno, because I know his worker production isn't that strong and he's not that good at spending his money.
Okay.
So I knew on paper it was terrible. I should be dying, but I definitely felt like, I'd probably just macro up and be fine. I didn't feel like I was in a desperate situation. And that's why I could have pushed across. I thought, okay, if you somehow double expanded here, then maybe I'm in trouble. But I found nothing on the low ground, so I just went back.
Well, not only that, but you even after all was said and done, I think you had maybe 3 or 4 extra workers on him, which...
Yeah, that's what I sort of expected.
Yeah, like it's thin margins, but we know that from there, Benno usually gets further behind in workers, not ahead, right? He used to be much better at it when you had access to fast quarry, like a couple patches ago, right? A couple tournaments ago. He was like the leader of workers. He would make like 100 workers by 20 minutes or something crazy. But he just, I feel like that's slipped a little bit now, and now that he has to rely on the ministries exclusively at tier 1. And I've seen far fewer quarries since that change, which I feel like once people start to get more comfortable with that, they'll start to work those in again. But
the problem is, once you get to tier 2, you tend to have so many Masons, it's actually hard to spend your money if you go hard in on quarries. I don't know if you remember way back when, in like my first Ascension to play for Benno as well, I would get up to like 200 Masons or something silly, and I could not spend the money. And I'd have so many quarries that I'd just be like rallying like 50 Masons over here, 50 Masons over there. But I realized, maybe you shouldn't go hard on that production. You saw like I didn't have an add-on in my main until like, that Morning Star. I got way like, and like I had trouble enough spending the money I had, right? So I think it was fair.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, it wasn't necessarily a mistake doing that. But, you think about on a map like Infinite Velocity especially, you can work the Taloses in to start building diadems a little bit closer or use the islands and stuff. Yeah, so anyway, it was interesting stuff seeing that. So congrats on the 4-0 streak. And I guess we'll see who's joining you for playoffs after out of your group, right? Do you have any predictions for us? You think Benno... Because the way I would break this matchup down right now, thinking about Benno and Scoler, I feel like Scoler's got more sound RTS mechanics, but Benno has more awareness of the project. And now we're kind of in that territory where you have to imagine who's going to do what versus who, and who's more warmed up perhaps or whatever, right?
I think it depends very heavily on the map.
too, which is kind of interesting to see who actually takes it to the playoffs.
My thoughts on that is that Scoler clearly has played a lot of Brood War on ladder or on Battle.net lobbies. You can tell because he's very tenacious, very aggressive. He's good at harassment and that sort of stuff, which you only get by experience.
Sure.
And I'd say Benno definitely doesn't have that. But Benno has a better idea of what he's going to make. He's good at tearing up fast and stuff like that. And like you say, he just knows the project pretty well. But I give it to Scoler in terms of the map. If it was on a map like Infinite Velocity, which is really hard to attack anywhere, then Benno is probably looking really good because I expect he would always get tier 2 and tier 3 before his opponent. But if it's on a map like, say, Boskevine or Death Spiral just then, Scoler can probably make something happen.
Well, there you go.
Oh my God.
He just popped in. He just popped in for 1 second to probably hit the punch button. I have his soundboard muted. He likes to punch people.
Yeah, it was punch.
Yeah, so that's what he likes to do. There you go. Somebody did it for me. There you go. Anyway, the punch is sounding the clock. That's Scoler saying, "Hey, are we playing or what?" So
all right,
appreciate
I'll go watch the stream.
Yeah, appreciate you popping in for the interview. Congrats on 4-0, and we'll see who's joining you.
Thank you.
Yeah, congrats.
All right, get out of here, Shambler.
Hi.
So, let's do it.
Let's go.
I was going to get some water, but we did that instead, so that's fine. I'll get some water later.
Instinctively type ready.
Yeah, I like when I like when Enos is spectating and he says, ready. Now we are playing from Peru and Germany here. Representing Germany, it's the Beast for Brown Terran on the left-hand side, Benno.
And on the right side, there's Scoler, and his color is blue.
Yeah, Terran from Peru. He's blue. That rhymes. And you know
Yeah.
what else it rhymes with?
Surprisingly
You.
so.
You actually. Absolutely.
No, you. No, you rhymes with you.
That's true. Technically, you does rhyme with you. And hey, thanks for the 3 gifted subs earlier. I appreciate that. It was a little bit hard to take Neblime seriously when I was hearing engaging blades in the background for 3 times in a row. But nonetheless, we do have a fast stockade out here from Scoler, and it's going to be answered with the same by Benno.
But I didn't hear that.
Yeah, come on now. Now, this is another large map, right? Another one by the Beaver. And he actually got to get one of the...
Benno is actually harvesting gas, so I'm expecting some Cyprians from him.
At the very least, right? And, you know, the thing about Benno, I like the fact that he was willing to go into triple star pad, and we saw on Repulsion he went quadruple star pad, try to get all those Wraiths out, see what he can manage. I feel like that can absolutely swing games when Scoler is, trying to move across the map with a big army, right?
A critical mass of Wraiths is very, very potent, but the one risk that you get is that there can also be critical amount of AoE that you can face, and then just in 1 second you can lose everything. So it is definitely very potent, but you do also want to have a plan B, I think.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if he had either. Like, he had a critical mass at one point, but then he just kind of stopped doing them. And he also did. I feel like had he just added 5 more barracks or stockades or something, he would have been in a better position. Or maybe even fulcrums for vultures or something.
Well, what I'm seeing here as Benno's scout will go ahead and get attacked by this Maverick shortly. Actually, there's 2 of them, believe it or not. Is Scoler really favors the fast fulcrum, even in TVT. So he likes to have a little bit of bio to him, and then obviously he likes to move a little bit further along. With the fulcrums, the fast Goliath, he uses that stockade to build clerics. It makes sense. Benno, on the other hand, is about to add a star pad. There it is. And he's harvested all of that gas with just 1 worker. So I don't think this is going to be a hard committal into air like in the last couple of matches that he's played. Cyclops on the way. Scout sniped. Cyprian in the background as well. So Scoler is... got a very well-rounded army, I would say, but it's kind of like a master of none. He's going to have some crowd control, some front line. Not so much in the single-target damage camp, but that's not really what you're up against here. And 5 Mavericks moving out alongside a Mason. We might even see maybe a forward anchor, right? He might be playing uncharacteristically aggressive here, which normally I would say could serve to his advantage, but Scoler is somebody who tries to move out fairly early himself. So I feel like this could just get caught before Benno's aware.
Maybe.
Yeah, the move out's going to happen now. Yeah, at the same time, I like this from Benno. He's moved up and out of the sight range, right? So if he goes ahead and drops an anchor, he can start elevatoring units using his anchor.
The bottom one is spot? No.
I don't think so. None of these units really have vast sight range, right? So I think just barely that bottom one.
The stockade is idle, unfortunately. Additional 2 Mavericks would be useful.
Yeah, to try to hold this off. He has a Wraith. It's hovering over the star pad, so you might not even notice it. But yes, I think he can absolutely float this anchor. The cheese is happening. The cheese is absolutely happening. And there's nothing back at home here for Scoler. He's just added a ministry. So
honestly, I'm gonna bet the Scoler will actually win more value from this.
Well, it depends on if he pulls the trigger on the push, right? We do have another Maverick being added. The Wraith is flying across the map, ministry in the same in-base position. But yeah, this is very undefended, I would say, from both sides.
Maverick, and the decision is to go back.
No, he realizes he shouldn't do that, right? He cancels the ministry. The Wraith is going to fly over here and start harassing some workers, I would think. But the push is going to come in here, and the first thing that's going to happen is these Hurricanes are going to take the fire. Yeah. There's nothing being made back at home. There's a deep trouble here because there's only a watchdog. The workers are pulled.
Yeah, there is a Goliath for Scoler to defend. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this might just be Scoler getting a very fast advantage here because of a very risky cheese-oriented play from Benno. He's going to lift his stockade and ministry, his star pad and everything, and they're all just going to start flying away.
He didn't land anchor, though. Now he is. He's going for it.
Well, 4 Mavericks and an anchor will kill a Goliath. It's just a question of whether or not... Well, actually, that's not true because the Goliath can outrange them. So it's down to whether or not Scoler respects that or realizes that. A lot of the Masons are taking some of the initial fire. There's nothing here to repair it exactly. And you can't force target with the anchor, right? So it lands, but it's just going to attack whatever it's... the units inside are just going to attack whatever they feel like attacking. They do kill a Cyprian, but... Yeah, Benno's just going to call GG there.
Game.
He was not able to evacuate. And Scoler will take a very fast move.
Yep.
Benno will have an opportunity to pick another map. But if this one is claimed by Scoler, Scoler will qualify. Nightfall is selected. We are now down to Nitro Valley and Otherworld. I'll let Benno know once Scoler comes in here, I'll say. Right, so we played Death Spiral, Situ, Infinite Velocity. Nightfall is this one. So we will go to either Nitro Valley or Otherworld, depending on what what Scoler decides, if Scoler loses this. So,
Yep.
decider game. Go ahead and type that one. Neblime was saying that in the practice games, Benno apparently did a lot of movements here with anchors and such. Did he win any games off of that play? Or was it successful in practice? I'm curious, Neblime, if you can tell us. All right. Nightfall is coming up at you, guys. That was a very blazing fast game, so I guess we're making up with our game lengths.
Yeah.
And we do indeed have Scoler. A little bit of an awkward split here, but he has the Lemon Terran in the top left of Nightfall.
And bottom right of Nightfall, there is Benno with color orange. The classic orange.
Classic orange. But a lot of the default colors, like, I don't think orange was affected, but blue is definitely adjusted by DF. They end up looking a little bit more vibrant, a little bit, they got something a little bit extra to them, thanks to DF's handiwork, so always appreciate that. Plus all the other colors that he's contributed over the many, many years here. Scoler had a little bit of a flummoxing with his Masons, where some of them didn't actually harvest minerals at first. He had a kind of an awkward split there. So he's going to be a little bit idle for a little bit.
The stockade.
Yeah, Benno's a little bit late too, but we know that he likes to do it like one worker later, basically. So it actually is going to be less late than you would think it would be, and that's not really a huge issue. You know, it's like very minor, but it's worth pointing out. And we have very fast gas harvesting from Scoler once again.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, a build that I like to do as Terran is I like to do, you know, my first Masons are always on minerals. My first worker that pops out goes to gas. And pretty soon, after continuous worker production that go onto minerals, I'll eventually have a Fulcrum first at a nice timing with a pretty healthy eco. That can also be parlayed into another worker on gas, and then you build a star pad to go for a fast vulture drop or something. That can be a little bit more of a risky strategy if you're up against an aggressive player. But neither of them are going to be doing that just yet. 4 minerals is inside this Mason for Benno, and he is going to bring it as a gift. Let's ask Scoler if he wants it. Maverick at each of the ramps, fairly bog standard play. Fulcrum on the way here for Mr. Scoler. Benno not yet decided what he wants to do, but it looks like he's got money for a Fulcrum, so.
And he...
No, I mean, I think he's going to add the star pad instead. He's waiting on the gas. So.
Oh. That works too. Although I think he could also slum like another stockade if that's what he wants to do.
Yeah, I wonder what he's up to. He stimmed all of his Mavericks, so he really wants to chase down and kill this Mason. Back at Scoler's base, the Fulcrum's nearly complete. There's a couple of Mavericks in puzzling locations. But the Fulcrum will get scouted. Mavericks return home, not moving across the map. You have to think maybe that's something that he's going to do. I mean, if this man is willing to try to anchor drop you in the previous matchup, then that does feel like it could be a real thing. So you have to be a little bit careful about that. But Benno is going for an expansion instead. So he's banked a lot of gas. I think this is where he drops a star pad, if I'm not mistaken. But otherwise, what is he using the gas for, unless he's trying to bank it for a fast tech?
It could be it. He's placing an anchor. So I guess he's prioritizing safety, but he still wants to have that option of of like switching to some more gas heavy tech if he would need to.
Right. We'll have to wait and see. All is quiet on this front.
The Starcraft. Yeah. Cool.
All right, Benno is going to be going for that. The ministry is about halfway complete. Anchor is now going to get loaded up. I think we're going to wait for at least a couple of clerics here, maybe one cleric minimum for Scoler to move
There's
out.
one thing that I would probably advise those players: if you can't actually keep like high uptime on your production, actually queue the second unit. Queuing 2 units is not as bad as missing those units.
Yeah.
And it probably also means that you will not overbuild stuff if you queue. So like, if you just queue one Maverick and then you like place another production, you might not be able to afford it. And then if you queue 2, that is like a good rule of thumb. Unless you're like actually optimizing, you can probably afford to do it. So I think that is something I recommend Benno.
Well, there's a group of units starting to move out here for Scoler. Admittedly, he did wait for almost a second cleric, as I was mentioning earlier. And yeah, I mean, he's got a Cyprian in this anchor. It's not going to have cliff advantage, but it should be enough to ward off the initial attack. It's just a question of how many more defensive emplacements does he put down, right? And he is indeed powering on gas, so very much interesting.
Might be problematic because he built that Starpod, but he didn't really use it yet, and for this stockade, it was idling most of the time, and he only has one stockade, which is, yeah, it's not a lot.
Unfortunately, Benno didn't really seem to pay attention to the army move out here. So he did scout it all with his Wraith, but I didn't see his camera look at that at all. So unless he just accepted that that was a thing based on the minimap dots or whatever, then I feel like he's going to be
He's
in
building
for
some workers for repairs, I assume. Okay, like I don't see how Benno holds this push.
Well, the Cyprians there's 2 of them loaded up there now. However, this is pretty good split here from Scoler. He does have only the 1 cleric, and the Cyclops are just repeatedly drilling down onto these Masons, but unfortunately, it doesn't seem like that was going to be the focus, right? The Cyprian could have been attacking the top strip of 4 Masons in a row, doing a lot of damage, but it wasn't. The cleric stays alive. There's 2 more added to the group, and another Cyclops is here as well.
Surprisingly worked out for Benno, but he is stepping on the thin ice.
Oh yeah, he's just hemorrhaged another. Yeah, this is looking really rough, right? He needs to like unload his anchor and reload it to get it to target a different unit, and he's not doing that, right? The sustain is just going to be too strong here, and you can see there the Cyclops are doing plenty of damage to the economy. Benno is still ahead in workers thanks to his expansion, but my goodness, this is not looking too hot for him. He's adding more units, but very slowly, one at a time kind of deal.
The clerics don't drain any resources, but Mason repairs do. And
Yeah,
they
the
actually
anchor's just
double
gonna pop.
drain technically because you're also not harvesting.
Yes. Yeah, the anchor popping, that's going to be GG. It's just busted here by Benno, who did... I think if he just adds 1 more anchor, he holds that off for a much longer, indefinite amount of time, particularly if it's on the cliffs. So, just based on that alone, unfortunately, Benno will once again go winless. I feel like I appreciated his gusto. I appreciated him trying to go for it. And, yeah, the anchor bust there was good for Scoler, so he proves that TVT doesn't have to last an eternity. Well, Veek, we're coming to a close. The Terran group is over. And look at that, we even have 45 minutes to regroup before the next group, which it's very late for you in Poland, so I wouldn't expect you to stick around for that one. But
Yeah,
thanks for joining me for the TVT ones. And do you have any thoughts on the matches that we saw?
Yeah, I'd say I really liked the infinite velocity one. That was an interesting one. And yeah, TVT is pretty interesting, I guess. It can be a very long game and it can be a very short one. It really depends on what strategies players go for. I just say that I don't know. I see potential in Benno, definitely, but I think his macro needs some work. I think he probably needs to like work on camera hotkey usage and like some like habits for like microcycling and whatever. But I think with some practice he would be able to beat Neblime or Scoler for that matter.
Yeah, in the context of Terran, I think they are just so tenacious, and if you can work on your macro without losing what you had, if you can do that, that works out pretty well.
Yeah, that's why I feel like doing like efficient stuff like camera hotkeys and like production hotkeys and stuff like that, using shortcuts properly and not spending more than like 5 seconds on an action or whatever. So, sometimes you'll be tempted to like look 20 seconds on like one screen, one position on the map, and that's you probably shouldn't do that. And yeah, just being efficient with that, I think, goes a long way to improving as a player.
There you go. Efficiency is king. Certainly can be.
Yep.
And there you have it. Thanks again, Veek, for joining me. Looks like for now, as of right now, I'll be bringing you the action for Group D solo, unless I can, recruit somebody else.
I'm gonna go bad.
Yeah, that's fine. And do appreciate everybody who's participated thus far in the tournament. We will take a look and see who's coming out of the next group. But so far, we've got 6 out of 8 of our playoffs players, and our largest tournament so far is running the schedule. We appreciate that.
Yeah, epic. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. All right, boys. Amesk isn't here to say smoke weed every day, so I'll just have to tell you.
Smoke weed every day.
Oh, shit. Veek did it for us. Bye.